is actually telling you the truth or just trying to sell you something you don't need. I'm Chris with Absolute Restoration. When we come out, we don't tell you what's wrong. We show you with photos, videos, and documentation. You'll see exactly what we see so you can make your own decision. And we back our work with a 50-year warranty and a 25-year algae warranty. Plus, no cost upgrades with 0% financing and no payment for 6 months.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, good evening and welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm meteorologist Caleb Ederblut, and you have made it to your Saturday evening. It's been a beautiful one so far. A few of us dealing with these hot, humid, and just sticky conditions. A few of us dealing with some heavy showers as well. I'll be breaking down kind of what to expect throughout the rest of the overnight period, especially because we will be talking about the potential for a severe weather risk. So let's get started right into our headlines. Heavy showers inbound for a few of us, and quite a few of us have already dealt with some of these showers with some of those just pop-up storms moving through North Mississippi, kind of just those standard pop-up Mississippi summer thunderstorms, but they could play a good role in helping to limit that severe weather threat. I'll show you what I mean within the next few minutes, and we'll be breaking down kind of what to expect overnight tonight, and I'll go ahead and say this is not one where you have to stay up late, stressed all night long. We're not really talking about a tornado risk at all here in North Mississippi, but we are talking about the potential for maybe some flash flooding, a little bit of wind, and the potential for hail. But wind and the possibility of flash flooding continue to be our highest concerns. And relief, it is almost here. We've been talking about it for a week now. I've been kind of letting you know from last weekend how toasty, humid, sticky this work week will be. And they've been keeping you updated on kind of that relief, timing it out. Well, that cold front that we'll be talking about tonight, that will help us feel a lot better as we go about our days coming up soon. But that severe weather threat for today, you can see this level 1 risk encompassing pretty much the most northern counties in our viewing area. Again, not all of us are in that severe weather risk today, but pretty much almost all of us could see those showers move through later tonight, a little bit more intense the further north you go. And one thing to put into perspective is we're kind of on the kind of fringe of that level 2 as well. You can see it pretty much right along the state line. So for you guys out there towards DeSoto or Marshall County, furthest north, pretty much right along the state line, y'all are almost in that level 2 slight risk. So still not out of it completely, but still showcasing how close it is to our viewing area. I want to give you guys the latest look at that before we kind of break down everything within the forecast ahead. Now, also take a look at the heat side of the story. Quite a few of us and pretty much the entire Delta dealing with that heat advisory. It'll expire tonight around 8 o'clock, so just 2 more hours while dealing with that, and hopefully these rain changes moving through tonight will kind of prevent these from continuing to get extended into your Sunday and definitely into your Monday. So almost out of these heat advisories for a little bit. We'll have a kind of period of time where we can take a break from it. We'll feel a lot better heading into the work week before, unfortunately, that Mississippi heat, it'll start to build back up. Let's take a look out here in Caledonia. There was a beautiful shot of some showers that moved on through. We can see a few raindrops still on the camera lens as you guys are dealing with a few sprinkles, but 83 degrees out there, feels like 88. That wind coming out of the southeast around 10 miles per hour, so not a bad way to kind of celebrate y'all Saturday afternoon. Different side of the story out here in Cleveland, 91 degrees. You actually feel like you're in triple digits, and that's just due to, one, y'all being in the Mississippi Delta, but also, two, not dealing with any of those rain showers that have moved through North Mississippi, not helping y'all cool on off. So quite toasty conditions closer towards the Mississippi River. And of course, for you guys out there in the Delta and out here in Iuka watching that train pass on by, you can see kind of some of those taller clouds out there in the distance. 81 degrees feels like 88, and not really any wind to help you guys feel a little bit better as you continue into the evening hours ahead. So let's take a look at the first 12 to kind of expect and kind of show you pretty much what to expect throughout the rest of your Saturday night. Low 90s by 7 o'clock, cooling off pretty quickly down towards the low 80s by 10, upper 70s by 1 o'clock. And we're talking about these chances for some thunderstorms later on tonight. Now, not all of us will see these at the same time. We're going to see them kind of move across the state line within the next few hours and kind of start to impact us closer towards the 9 o'clock broadcast time. So make sure to stay updated with us then and kind of stick with us throughout the overnight period before we'll finally return to pretty much mostly dry conditions once we wake up and start our Sunday morning. Now, you can already see what I mean by that here. Take a look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar. Most of us, if not pretty much all of us, are staying completely dry at this moment. That was not the story earlier on today. But take a look. We can already see that batch of thunderstorms pretty much right on the doorsteps of North Mississippi. That's what's bringing us a severe weather threat. Thankfully, we're not seeing any warnings issued right now. We actually saw a few kind of within the past 30 minutes. If we want to go back and see if we can see that, it may have already expired before that. Let's go to the past hour and see if we can see that play on through. Let's click it one more time. It may not do that right now, but oh, there we go. You can kind of see those thunderstorms move on through. Not quite seeing that warning, but thankfully we want to keep it that way, not really have to talk about that severe weather. But we're watching these batches of showers kind of move on in. And one other thing I want to point out, let's stop this loop, go back towards now. And one thing I want to make sure you guys can kind of see and why we're not completely sold on this severe weather threat, take a look at this area here in North Mississippi. Right now we're staying dry. That's kind of where we can see the potential for that severe weather threat to move on in. But one thing that we are talking about, take a look at what happened throughout the day. By lunchtime, we're talking about dry conditions. Take a look at that scattered development that occurred. Our atmosphere was primed, ready to go for that front to move in later tonight. But notice those pop-up showers kind of already ate up that energy within our atmosphere. And now the question is, do we have enough time to kind of get that heat back for that cold front tonight that imposes that severe weather threat? That's what we're tracking out. So this was a good thing that we saw these showers kind of already pop up and kind of move on through North Mississippi, eats up the energy, hopefully lowers that severe weather threat later on tonight. Now, this is exactly what we're taking very special close attention to, is this low pressure system as it kind of exits Kansas, gets closer towards Missouri. And our relief that we keep talking about is in the form of this cold front that will continue moving closer and closer towards North Mississippi. And it's bringing some of those stronger showers as well. You can see kind of a few of those getting warned in Tennessee with those severe thunderstorm warnings in the warm sector just behind the warm front. We're not seeing that here in North Mississippi just yet. We have to wait for that to make its way here. And that's what we're going to be tracking out throughout the rest of the overnight period ahead. So let's take a look at that here on Futurecast. You can see those heavier showers continue to stay just north of us, northwest of North Mississippi. This is around 6:30, right on the doorsteps of our viewing area. But as we continue throughout the rest of the night, by 9 o'clock, we're talking about some of those heavy showers moving through North Mississippi. A few of these could pack a punch, which is why I want to stay updated with us throughout the rest of the overnight period. We'll be live at 9, but if we need to go live earlier, we'll be ready to go. I'm starting to see some of those heavier showers push into North Mississippi, and they'll continue to dig further and further south across our area to where most of us will see these rain chances overnight tonight throughout your Sunday morning. Then thankfully we return to drier conditions by those prime church time hours, kind of enjoying mostly dry conditions before, unfortunately, we'll be talking about the chance for a few thunderstorms to make their way back tomorrow afternoon. Now, Next 24 is going to showcase exactly that. Mostly dry start to our morning, mid-70s by 6 o'clock, quickly working our way back up into the upper 80s by 12 o'clock. And this will be the last day. Once we make it through tomorrow, we're talking about a lot better temperatures for our work week coming on up. But due to that, we're also talking about rain chances, which will help cool us off. Seeing those peak around the afternoon hour, stick with us into the evening, and we'll cool back off into the upper 70s already by 9 o'clock tomorrow night. But coming up in the next minute, we're going to be talking about that severe weather threat, kind of who it will affect tonight, what we think on it, kind of timing that out hour by hour, going county by county to make sure you guys are updated for your Saturday night heading into your Sunday. All that's coming up right after this break.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Every legend starts somewhere.
Not with perfection, but with the decision.
The decision to show up, work harder, and believe this place can change everything.
At Northeast, you're more than just a number.
We're built on opportunity, and our students are willing to rise to the occasion.
Here, success isn't handed to you. It's earned.
You don't just leave with a degree, you leave as a legend.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, thanks for sticking here with us for Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Let's take a look at your evening planner. We are dealing with a few stormy conditions making their way through North Mississippi, but we're going to talk about the impacts and who all it will affect. But pretty much mid-80s by 8 o'clock, low 80s by 11, upper 70s by 2 o'clock. And we're dealing with these rain chances only around 30% as that line moves through North Mississippi. Not all of us going to see those rain chances at the same time. Not all of us seeing it at the same intensity either. So let's take a look at your severe weather risk. Of course, only a few of us, pretty much the most northern part of North Mississippi, dealing with that level 1 out of 5. So again, not a slam dunk forecast, but also right above the state line is that level 2. So you can imagine those counties pretty much in the yellow, level 2 slight risk. And of course, that kind of more intense chance for severe weather will be further on north within our viewing area. So let's go kind of threat by threat, taking a look at our wind. That continues to be pretty much the number one threat that we could see later on tonight. We already saw some of those gusty winds affect us yesterday here in Tupelo, Blue Springs, all across North Mississippi. That's what we're continuing to monitor throughout the overnight period heading into our Sunday, pretty much the exact same area where that level 1 risk was issued. And we could be potentially dealing with some hail kind of further on back with our kind of levels of threats to go through tonight. But a few of us in DeSoto County getting closer towards Tunica, Marshall County, even towards Tate, could see some of that later on tonight. Of course, we're going to be monitoring that. But the big one that all of us want to know is that tornado risk. And we're not quite talking about that. So no, this is not a night where you have to stay up late, just kind of stress all night long. A few of us will potentially deal with some severe thunderstorm warnings, but we're not quite talking about tornadoes. So that continues to be a positive thing, but we'll make sure to walk you through kind of what to expect throughout the rest of the overnight period ahead. Now, Futurecast still showcasing where we saw a few heavier showers, a little bit overdone with these showers because we're not seeing that here as y'all just saw on our Mama Justice Doppler radar. But one thing that we want to continue looking for is that line of thunderstorms that will eventually push into North Mississippi later on this evening. Now, it's not until pretty much 8 o'clock where we could see it right on the doorsteps and where we could potentially go live a little bit earlier before our 9 o'clock if those storms end up misbehaving. Could see a few heavier showers out here just north of the Golden Triangle region towards Monroe, Clay, and towards Webster County. But by 8 o'clock, we're continuing to monitor this line very closely, pretty much entering North Mississippi by 9 o'clock, getting closer towards you guys in Tunica, DeSoto, Marshall County. And it's going to continue to slowly push further and further into North Mississippi. By 10 o'clock, we're really starting to see the impacts as that line makes its way through. Again, we'll be live at 9 and 10. If we need to go live earlier, we will be ready to do so. But by 11 o'clock, still seeing it push into North Mississippi. You can already see it breaking apart kind of once we make it past that level 1 risk. So not all of us will see the same level of intensity throughout the overnight period, but a good bit of us will see these heavy showers move on through. But by midnight, starting to see those widespread chances, a little bit heavier out there further closer towards the Delta, towards Clarksdale and the Batesville region. That's at midnight later on tonight. Still seeing some heavier showers further on east, and it'll continue to just blanket North Mississippi, especially as we get closer towards pretty much post-midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., But we're really not talking about that severe weather threat by this time either. That daytime heating, it's cut off. It doesn't have heat to go off on, and it's pretty much already eaten all of that up further up north. So still just some heavy showers. You could hear quite a few rumbles of thunder tonight. Hopefully not quite talking about that intensity later on throughout the overnight period. So they'll continue to move on out. Then we're talking about mostly dry conditions by the time you are starting off your Sunday morning, which will definitely be welcomed as we're getting ready for our Sunday morning church commute. Now, low temperatures, again, only going to cool off pretty much towards the mid-70s, so don't have much time to kind of feel relief later on tonight, but don't worry, still on its way. Just got another 24, almost 48 hours to go until we can really enjoy them together. Now, Futurecast still showcasing where we could see a few showers as we're starting off our Sunday morning, not quite as widespread as what we'll deal with later on tonight. And we can almost go throughout most of our Sunday without talking about those rain chances. That cold front pretty much right on the doorsteps of North Mississippi. This is what's bringing us our relief. So once we make it through Sunday, we're going to feel a lot better by Monday. But also, we can't escape those rain chances and thunderstorm chances just yet. Once we make it past lunchtime, that cold front starts to enter North Mississippi. We could see just enough lift to provide the chances for a few heavier showers and thunderstorms. This is around 2 o'clock later on tomorrow afternoon, affecting you guys out there towards Marshall, Benton, Tippah County, towards Pontotoc and Union. That's around 2 tomorrow afternoon, and it continues to stay in the most northeastern portion of North Mississippi. So not all of us will see those rain chances tomorrow, but we're just also in the season where North Mississippi is going to be a struggle to go completely rain-free throughout the next few months ahead. But still, talk about some heavier showers and thunderstorms moving through North Mississippi tomorrow, especially in the afternoon, evening hours by 4 o'clock, affecting our Alabama counties, crossing the state line, but still in Itawamba, Lee, Pontotoc, getting closer towards Chickasaw County. That's at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and still talking about it just a little bit more widespread by 5 o'clock. So a good bit of us have the chance to see some afternoon, evening showers, and that will continue towards 6 o'clock, getting closer towards the Golden Triangle region, a little bit heavier out there towards Clay, Oktibbeha, Lowndes County, and even out there further west towards Greenwood, Winona, and the southern portions of the Delta at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Now those high temperatures, again, you can definitely tell where that rain will have a positive effect and where it just quite won't make that effect just yet, especially the further north you go, feeling cooler just due to that cold front, pretty much affecting you guys sooner than those on the most southern portion of our viewing area. But low 90s the further south you go, upper 80s the further north. And again, those feels like values still pretty dramatic with how we're going to feel outdoors. Quite a few of us still feeling like we're in the triple digits or close towards the triple digits. But thankfully, Monday and on for the next few days, we'll feel a lot better before that Mississippi mugginess, it'll start to build back up yet again. So let's take a look at a different model. This is our strike model by 6 o'clock. This time showcasing some rain showers and potential of some thunderstorms further out west across the Delta. So still good chance to see these kind of move through North Mississippi tomorrow afternoon and evening. Throughout the morning hours, we should be good to go with any outdoor plans. But we're not talking about anything intense or the potential for severe weather like we are tonight. It's just kind of some rain showers moving on through. By 3 o'clock, we could start talking about some heavier showers affecting most southern portions of the Delta and our viewing area by 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we're just talking about those rain chances a lot more prominent the further south you go within the next few days. You'll see just what I mean by that coming up in the next few minutes. But by 8 o'clock, most of us starting off our work week pretty dry, but again, southern portions of the Delta could be a soggy workday commute as you get going. Heavier showers by lunchtime continue to move through the southern portions of our viewing area. That will continue to be the theme. Further north you go, y'all could almost stay completely dry throughout your Monday, but also further south you go, it could just be a downright soggy and pretty much just rainy Monday as you start off the work week. We're not talking about anything intense, just rain showers continue to move on through, build back up, become a little bit more widespread by 1 o'clock. But again, not talking about anything severe or intense, just some much needed rainfall helping cool us off. But by that time, we're going to be in bed and pretty much ready to go for our Tuesday morning coming on up. Now, those high temperatures for your Monday, just take a look at this and enjoy it. We're finally talking about low 80s, upper 70s for a few of us here in North Mississippi, especially for you guys out there in Cleveland. We had y'all as a camera earlier talk about feeling like you're in triple digits. Your high is going to be in the upper 70s by Monday. So I know we are very excited for this, not only with those highs making its way towards the low 80s, but those feels like values. We're not even talking about us feeling warmer. Majority of us actually feeling slightly cooler. So once we make it to Monday, I know it's the start of the work week, but at least a much more positive note as we're starting off the work week with these cooler temperatures and actually feeling like them as we get ready for the work week ahead. So let's take a look at your rain chances. Of course, not quite going to escape it here in North Mississippi. Sunday, Monday continue to be the days to watch as this cold front pretty much gets close to our viewing area tonight, bringing that severe weather threat and then kind of crossing our viewing area tomorrow. So 50% coverage throughout the next 2 days. We're going from low 90s today today and into tomorrow to low 80s for your Monday. And we'll enjoy those for a little bit before we start building back up, back to the low 90s, kind of feeling that mugginess again on your Thursday. But take a look at that. We're talking about those stormy conditions arriving yet again, cooling us back off towards the mid 80s for your Friday and Saturday, hopefully drying up a little bit more for your Saturday, but unfortunately still talking about those rainy conditions for your Sunday as well. But don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking about all things rainfall and kind of how it's going to impact us here in the next minute. We're also going to take a look back at yesterday and how we're talking about that severe weather threat tonight, about wind being our number 1 threat, and what it caused yesterday, why we still want to keep this very serious and stay weather aware throughout the evening ahead. All that's coming up after this break.
Saturday, June 20th, TCB Fights is live in Tupelo, benefiting St. Jude. Plus, meet UFC Hall of Famer Don Fry. Get your tickets at memphiswrestling.tv.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham & Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham & Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Let's start off taking a look at that heat index values, and this is the relief we're talking about. It's been a downright muggy and humid day today, as you can tell. It's going to stay that way a little bit tomorrow, but those rain chances will help make us feel a little bit better as we go about our day. But by Monday and Tuesday, we're off the charts in a much more positive way, actually going to feel like those temperatures feel slightly cooler like you saw on those graphics. But then we start building back up slightly into your Thursday before yet another cold front and those rain chances help cool us off again. So that relief, it's almost here. Just got to make it through the weekend, which we can enjoy, kind of staying off of work, avoiding those work week responsibilities. Then once we have to go back to them, we'll be able to do them and kind of take care of business in a fantastic way. And then looking forward to more relief occurring next weekend. Now, another thing we want to talk about is that rainfall and kind of the difference between widespread, more isolated, and we've witnessed kind of those isolated chances move through North Mississippi. Quite a bunch down here towards Noxubee County, over 1.25 inches out on the outskirts of Macon. Most southern portions of Lowndes County, pretty much just over 1 inch. 3.5 out here towards Yalobusha County as well. So just showcasing that if you do get one of these thunderstorms to just kind of pop up, sit over you guys, you could get quite a bit of rainfall pretty quickly with those thunderstorms that move on through. So still showcasing the rainfall we've received within the past 12 hours and kind of what we can expect throughout the next 7 days. Again, the most southern portion of our viewing area, y'all will be the hot spot as we're talking about kind of the tropics heating up a little bit, bringing some of that moisture, that rainfall to our viewing area, and that will stay focused just south and very south of North Mississippi as well in the southern portions of the Magnolia State. But the further north you go, starting to see less rainfall affect you guys, and why we're keeping a close eye on our southern counties just due to the potential for some flash flooding if we start to get these rain chances pretty much back to back to back. But another thing we want to point out is that severe weather threat today and how it can still impact us with that wind threat and kind of how we've already witnessed that throughout the past 24 hours, whether you were in Tupelo or Blue Springs. We covered a story on kind of showcasing the damage that was held. Let's take a look first at what happened in Tupelo. Okay, we might not be able to play that one because it looks like it's struggling. So let's see if we can go to Blue Springs and take a look at this story that this family had that they'll definitely be able to tell for the rest of their lives.
Get in the house, get in the house.
What turned out to be a normal night with family turned chaotic as 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts moved into Union County and went into the canopy of trees that you see behind me. Now, one of those trees started to hear it crack, and that's when the madness happened.
I jump up and run toward the door. She run that way, and when I opened the door, the tree limb fell right in front of my face.
The family ran inside the home for safety, for shelter. Unfortunately, the tree had other plans. As you see above me, safety was not inside the home. The branch actually coming through the roof just inches away from the family, but luckily everyone made it out okay, but it is a story that they will tell for the rest of their lives.
It's going to be a lot. It caved in the roof of the porch and the dining room, and I think it did some damage to the beams and the air conditioner ductwork up there, so it's going to be a lot, but I'm thankful to be alive and nobody's hurt.
When asked how she felt after the storm, Ruth had one word.
We are blessed. Very blessed. By the grace of God, we are blessed.
Well, there you have it, a special look at kind of what occurred in Blue Springs, and we're talking about that severe weather threat occurring later on tonight. And if we take a look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar and go back towards a visual, let's take a look to make sure we have everything turned on and see those warnings. And we'll make sure nothing is occurring here in North Mississippi. So thankfully, we're not dealing with any warnings at this moment. It's still right on the doorsteps of our viewing area and pretty much just right on the outskirts of DeSoto County, which we can kind of zoom in on that for you guys. So to give you guys kind of the latest on when you could see some of this rainfall, y'all are probably already hearing kind of those constant, well, there you go. There's that severe thunderstorm warning as it is heading into DeSoto County this evening. So we'll continue to live and kind of cover this as it continues throughout our viewing area without the next few minutes. Let's see if we have any cameras up there. Holly Springs might be, oh, that one's down. Let's go Senatobia, see if they're pointing north, see if we can get a video on it or a kind of view. Not looking like we can get any of that right now, but severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for parts of DeSoto County. Thankfully, it's not within the county just quite yet, but they are warning that as it makes its way closer and closer towards you guys. So let's see kind of the latest timing and track how fast it's moving so we can kind of time out when it moves into y'all's area. So I think it's moving around 30 miles per hour is what my phone says. So let's do that here. Let's track that out for you guys. And we'll kind of go along the leading edge, draw this out. There we go. And then we'll go around 30 miles per hour. So let's take a look at that. I'll move out of the way. That way you guys can kind of see what we're talking about here. So around 627 for Glover, Hayes, Rossville Junction, Peters around 628, same for Twin Lakes, Horseshoe Lake, South Haven, and getting closer towards Capleville at 629, Seiple around 630, Lake Cormorant around 631, same for Town of Walls, and Commerce Landing around 633. And just to kind of change the cities on that to kind of view a little bit more, go up to 2 here. That way we can look at a few more as it gets closer and closer towards North Mississippi. So South Haven again at 628, Horn Lake 630, Olive Branch around 641, Grand Junction 644, Tunica 649, Hernando 650, by Haley around 659, Ashland 710, Snow Lake Shores 712, Coldwater around 714, Holly Springs 720, and then Faulkner around 724. So that's kind of showcasing, again, wind continues to be our biggest threat as we go through this line that will make its way into North Mississippi. And as you can already tell, a little bit earlier than expected than what some models were projecting. So we'll kind of get this going now and continue to cover this as it makes its way into North Mississippi as we kind of see some warnings get issued. We can take a look at all our different products here, which let's switch it towards our Memphis radar so we can get a better visual on this. That looks a lot better than what our Monroe radar is picking up. Of course, it's looking a lot higher up, but still kind of seeing that heavy rainfall move into the area, bringing constant rumbles of thunder and some lightning, which of course will kind of make a lot of kind of loud noises and stuff, but thankfully not having to worry about anything too intense. So let's take a look at our wind here in Memphis to kind of track any rotation, which again continues to not really be a threat tonight. That's not one of the things we're looking for, and thankfully we're not seeing that here. We can go even towards our storm relative mode, just seeing a lot of outgoing winds kind of pushing away from the radar. So it's going to be quite gusty as it makes its way kind of through your area later on tonight. You'll definitely hear that wind howling. A few of us kind of heard it a lot yesterday as some of those gust fronts moved on through. That's kind of what we're dealing with again today. Now, of course, like we pointed out earlier, a few of us, especially in the most northwestern portions, what we're tracking out now here for DeSoto County, could deal with a little bit of hail, which let's turn off the lightning because we know it's going to be quite energetic with these storms. And you can see some of those darker purples starting to return, showcasing a little bit more confidence with that hail making its way down towards the surface. Thankfully, again, not quite seeing that here in North Mississippi yet, but that's also because the line hasn't made it into our viewing area. Let me make sure I'm not missing any notifications from any of the team. But we're still talking about heavy rainfall and pretty much some gusty winds moving across our viewing area. We're going to start to feel that here in DeSoto County within the next few moments, like I was showcasing there. Is there a severe weather threat today? Mary Jones was asking in the comments. Yes, we were talking about that level 1 risk, which we can go back towards it real quick and kind of break it down for you guys as it makes its way closer into North Mississippi. We're only dealing with a level 1, which of course is still severe weather here in North Mississippi. One would take all of them seriously. And that level 2 slight risk is pretty much just right where that line of storms is right now, just across the state line into Tennessee. We're only dealing with that level 1 risk here today, and we'll go through it threat by threat yet again. We're talking about pretty much damaging wind as our number 1 threat, just those just gusty lines making its way through our viewing area. A few of us dealing with that yesterday with some of those gust fronts. We're going to see that kind of occur yet again here today. Throughout the rest of our evening ahead, that hail we were just talking about still focused primarily in the most northwestern portion of our viewing area, where we see that severe thunderstorm warning issued right now for DeSoto County. So could start to see some of those hailstones make their way towards North Mississippi. And again, want to keep emphasizing this. We're not talking about anything tornadic today with this setup. This continues to really not be the most impressive setup, but one of the things that we focus on a lot and one that we're always most concerned about is the threat for tornadoes. That continues to not really be a threat high up on our scale this evening. So we're going to continue monitoring this as we're doing right now. Not seeing that threat here in North Mississippi. Hoping to keep it that way throughout the next few hours here in our viewing area. So let's go back towards analysis to continue looking at that line of thunderstorms that move on through. Again, those peak threats showcasing those kind of pinks, purples, showcasing that hail. The green is just heavy amounts of rainfall, which we're very accustomed to here in North Mississippi with how kind of soggy our weather pattern has been lately. So let's continue going through. Let's go look at our hail track presented by True Shield Roofing. And you can see pretty clear the amount of hail that was dropping kind of closer towards the start of when that warning was issued. So that could be one of the reasons it was issued. The hazard was 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and nickel-sized hail. So definitely seeing some of that wind and hail already be produced with some of these storms kind of moving closer and closer towards the state line. Hopefully we'll kind of see that pinkish purple stop making its way closer towards us here in North Mississippi, to where all we have to deal with is some wind and just some heavy rainfall. But again, just showcasing sheer, not quite talking about that. If we were talking about anything tornadic, we're going to see kind of these brighter returns where some of these storms try to rotate a little bit further up aloft, just with them being a little bit stronger in nature. And we're not dealing with that here as it gets closer towards North Mississippi. We'll see those bright reds. They'll stick out like a sore thumb to pretty much just catch your attention to make sure we can see that. We're not seeing that right here. So again, hail continues to be the biggest threat, and we can go line that up with precipitation, which, yeah, it's still kind of right on top of it. But that leading edge right here, not seeing those returns quite yet. It might lag behind just a few minutes, but hoping to see kind of that storm pretty much dump out all of its hail, not wanting to see that get carried over here. Or somebody else in the chat was asking, so will it be bad tonight? Bad, it depends on your definition. We're talking about a severe weather risk, only level 1, and any risk is definitely important for us here in North Mississippi, so we're going to cover it. But on the grand schemes of kind of forecast, the ingredients that we have here in North Mississippi, we're not seeing kind of that slam dunk forecast with tornadoes, anything super intense and just significant. But of course, all severe weather threats are significant to us here in North Mississippi, and we'll continue monitoring that for you guys as it makes its way across the state line into North Mississippi. So still got a ways to go. We can give the latest track on it yet again here. That way we can give y'all the latest timing on that. We'll start with that heavy shower pretty much right over the Mississippi River. And of course, y'all might start already hearing some rumbles of thunder as it makes its way closer towards you guys. But again, I'm not going to be able to because I went too far. Let's start the other way. And I'll move this over so we can do it that way. There we go. That way I can give y'all best drawing I can. Let's draw this out again. Again, not quite in North Mississippi yet, but we see that warning extended into our region. And that's for DeSoto County. So let's draw that out towards around 30 miles per hour. Again, I'll move out of the way. That way you guys can see. Let me change the locations for us here. I think we're on 1. So let's go to 2. Okay. There we go. Here's the latest timing. Again, not quite affecting us here in North Mississippi, but we're going to start hearing those rumbles of thunder get a lot closer towards us. Pipertown around 637, Rossville 638, Collierville 639, Walls around 640, Moscow 640 as well, South Haven 642, Horn Lake 645, Olive Branch in DeSoto County around 659, Hernando 707, Byhalia around 719, Coldwater 721, Snow Lake Shore 727, same for Ashland, and then Senatobia around 728. So again, going to probably hear constant rumbles of thunder with how energetic these storms continue to be here, which we can pop on those lightning strike counts for you guys. Again, kind of showcasing where we can see them. Very energetic here. Our total strikes are around pretty much 1,500. I always cover it up as I'm standing over there, but very energetic storms making their way closer and closer towards North Mississippi into DeSoto County. That's the only warning that we see here, and hoping to keep these very limited throughout the evening hours ahead. And of course, we can actually see this aerial flood advisory. So I know the forecast discussion earlier today, I was reading that Memphis received a lot of rainfall yesterday. They're receiving it again today. So just showcasing that flooding threat continues to be somewhat of a threat here in North Mississippi if we end up seeing that rainfall pretty much back to back to back. Somebody was asking again about the tornado threat. We're not dealing with anything tornadic tonight. This is not anything you need to stay up late stressing about, wondering if we're going to see tornadoes. This is not the setup that you typically see. That is not one of our threats. Wind, hail, and the potential for some flash flooding continues to be our concern, and tornadoes, they are not our concern at this moment. So still gusty winds, the potential for some hail. We saw potentially some nickel-sized hail closer towards the Memphis region, and we're not quite seeing that as it gets closer towards North Mississippi, which we can take a look at that just to make sure. Taking a look at our hail track, again, presented by True Shield Roofing, which let me take off the lightning again because that can be a little bit overwhelming. We know it's very energized. You can see kind of where we could see some of those pinks, those purples showcasing those hail chances as that hail kind of moves on through that hail swath. Hoping to see that kind of stop. Let's go back to precipitation, see where it's at. It's lining up a little bit with that leaning edge right around Pisgah Heights, I'm going to say. Somebody can correct me in the chat if you're from there, but I would love to know how to say that one. But we are kind of talking about the potential for some hail as this severe thunderstorm continues to make its way closer and closer towards North Mississippi. Not quite seeing it yet in South Haven, definitely hearing those rumbles of thunder. The severe thunderstorm warning will expire around 7:15. That's by the time it makes it into DeSoto County. Hopefully we won't see these continue much here, but definitely talk about a few severe storms making their way into North Mississippi at this moment. Definitely hearing those rumbles of thunder, but definitely wanting to keep an eye on that. Somebody was saying thank you as far as giving them the update for tornadoes. So yes, that continues to not be a threat. People watching in Corinth, people saying thank you. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're going to make sure you guys are well updated. We can even zoom this back out because I know we've been focusing on that severe thunderstorm warning. For most of North Mississippi, y'all are staying dry at this moment. This continues to be the area we're watching for the potential for some severe thunderstorm warnings to be issued. We see one issued for DeSoto County. But again, as a whole, we're enjoying pretty much mostly dry conditions across our region. It'll take a little bit longer for this line to make its way fully through North Mississippi, but also thankfully losing that intensity as it does. So most northern counties, pretty much north of Highway 278, continues to be the area to watch as this line makes its way into North Mississippi. It'll thankfully help us feel a lot cooler as we continue into the evening hours, but unfortunately, I know that won't really impact too many of us as we won't be doing too much outside as these storms move on through. So again, North Mississippi, we're enjoying these mostly dry conditions. I can switch this back towards our Columbus radar just to show that. Looks like we have a little boundary there, kind of that line showcasing maybe some heavy winds moving on through, picking up those dusts, those bugs, but not quite seeing any rain showers with it and nothing out there to really latch onto. So that'll still be an area to watch to see if it can provide just enough lift for maybe a few pop-up showers and sprinkles. But again, our attention stay very focused up here northwest, closer towards DeSoto County, as that warning continues to push further and further into our viewing area, and hopefully not to see it get extended. So I believe it was issued for the 60-mile-per-hour winds that were already occurring and the potential for some nickel-sized hail, which we saw there. So let's go back towards our warning, continue to go through the products, showcase kind of what's happening here. So we'll zoom back in for you guys, and I'll make sure to, I always see the full screen on my end, don't want to cover anything up for you guys. And we'll switch back towards our Memphis radar, get a good clear visual on that. Definitely hearing those rumbles of thunder as it makes its way closer and closer towards you guys. Closer towards South Haven, DeSoto County. See even a few showers popping up in Tunica County as well. But we can go through all of our products again to just showcase kind of what's occurring with these storms. Wind, we're not seeing what you want to typically see if there's a tornado occurring is that rotation aloft, which will show kind of bright green, bright red close together, showcasing those winds kind of rotating next to each other. Again, they'll stick out like a sore thumb. Make sure you can see that. We're not quite seeing that here with this severe thunderstorm warning ongoing. We can see that with our storm relative winds. All that red just means it's very gusty winds blowing away from that radar up here towards the Millington region, just showcasing that wind pushing on south, getting closer towards North Mississippi. We're not talking about anything rotating. Definitely hoping to keep it that way throughout the evening. And even if we would start to see kind of some of that red color pop out on our peak impacts graphic. And we're not quite seeing that yet either. It just continues to be heavy rainfall, the potential for some hail. And notice that hail threat continues to stay a little bit further north, and we're starting to talk about that heavy rain the further south it gets. So hopefully not going to see that pink and purple start to spread closer and closer towards us here in North Mississippi, but it's starting to pretty much cross the state line. We'll start to get those heavy rainfall coming up here in the next few minutes. Take a look at our rotation threat. Again, this would be another thing where we could kind of see some bright returns. We're not seeing that here with our rotation and our shear. Hail threat also doing a lot better than what it was earlier. You can definitely tell where it was a little bit more impactful further up north within this warning. But as it continues to move on through, we can switch back between our hail track and precipitation. Not quite seeing that yet either. So hopefully all we're dealing with is just some of those heavy wind gusts. And I know all of us can deal with some wind, and that would be one that we would like to pick out of all three. We definitely don't want to deal with the tornado, don't want to deal with some hail. I think we can deal with some wind. So hoping to continue to see that throughout the evening, and even then would like to see that kind of die down as well. So our True Shield Roofing hail threat kind of showcasing that swath move throughout the warning area, but thankfully starting to stop as well. So hopefully it dumped out everything, and we would like to see this kind of start to de-intensify, but we can even go throughout the loop. Let's go the past hour, drag this back, kind of see kind of where it was earlier. Just showcasing those brighter returns. I haven't even seen much of those pink purples, which you typically see pretty easily with potential for some hail, but still just showcasing those dark reds, heavy amounts of rainfall kind of moving through the area and starting to kind of enter North Mississippi as well, getting closer towards the Walls community, making its way through Pinckney as well. So still seeing that kind of get closer and closer towards North Mississippi. Somebody's watching from North Marshall County. I know you guys are kind of in the path of some of these storms as well, that they're making its way towards you guys. Still not quite seeing that rainfall just yet, but we saw the severe thunderstorm warning get issued as we're wrapping up the broadcast, and we'll definitely stay on as it makes its way into North Mississippi. So again, heavy rainfall. We don't have any cameras up there. I think our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, was saying something about the MDOT cameras, which I might have to see if I can get those pulled up behind the scenes at some point, but I don't think, actually, wait, let's see what he sent here. MDOT on the, okay. I'll have to see if I can get that pulled up here within the next few minutes, but definitely just seeing heavy rainfall move through North Mississippi. We're not talking about anything tornadic. There is no tornado threat tonight with these storms that move into North Mississippi. And for those that are kind of wondering what it looks like for all of our viewing area, that intensity that we're dealing with, it's not going to be the same for everybody. It's going to stay pretty much the furthest northwest portions where we could see these kind of lines of thunderstorms move on through. And we can already see that severe thunderstorm warning getting clipped just a little bit the further north you go as y'all are getting out of the warning. But once it continues to make its way closer towards Highway 278 and further on south, it's not going to have that same level of intensity throughout the overnight periods. We're not dealing with that sunshine, that daytime heating, all the ingredients that the atmosphere has tried to prime to get it ready for this front that makes its way through North Mississippi. So quite a few of us will deal with this heavy rainfall throughout the overnight period ahead, but we're not going to have to deal with kind of that severe weather threat as well, which definitely continues to be a positive here. Saltillo, somebody was asking about Saltillo. Y'all are staying dry right now. Y'all could see some of those rain chances later on this evening. Again, it would be quite a ways away until y'all start dealing with that, but y'all aren't really dealing with too much of that severe weather threat tonight. It's just going to be heavier showers. Could hear some rumbles of thunder. Looks like our chief meteorologist, Matt Laubon, joining us and just kind of tracking out that severe thunderstorm warning right now, Matt.
Absolutely. And I'll turn it back over to you here in a second, but just, kind of reaffirming what you're saying. Not expecting a lot of severe thunderstorms out there tonight. Gabe and I have been talking behind the scenes, kind of watching this. What I'm going to get done for you in a second, I'm going to get you kind of logged into the other computer over there so you can also kind of pull it up there as well. So we'll get you keys so you can pull up some of the other cameras and things like that as well. But as you mentioned a moment ago, this is isolated. Most storms should be below severe limits. And I think one of the other things you mentioned very clearly, no tornado threat on this evening. These should stay disorganized, and heavy rainfall be the big deal, right?
Oh yeah, nope, definitely some heavy rainfall, quite a few rumbles of thunder as well. So it might be a little bit noisy because I even had to turn the lightning strikes off just with how energetic these storms are. It looks a little bit
I know.
overwhelming. I mean, take a look at that.
It really is. 1,300 strikes just on the screen here is a lot of lightning strikes. So if you need to grab a drink of water, you wave me down. I'll see you here in a second. I'll take over for just a moment, and when you're ready, I'll trade you right back. Sound good?
Perfect. Sounds good.
Okay. So again, kind of resetting things here in the Room Durham Weather Center for a moment. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut there in our downtown Tupelo studios. A severe thunderstorm warning issued up here for parts of DeSoto County in effect until 7:15 p.m. This is Doppler radar indicated strong wind gusts. A few ways in which we've kind of monitored this. One, probably the closest way sort of looking at this is from the Tower Doppler weather radar up there in the Memphis area. You know, it has shown some of the gusty winds that this has produced. I'm going to set this on a 30-minute loop here so we can kind of show that a little bit better. And you can see again that green oozing southward in here. Some strong gusty winds possible out of this. Again, lots of lightning. So power disruptions, I'd say likely with all the lightning strikes that this is producing, as well as it moves kind of from the northwest toward the southeast here. Our meteorologist Maggie McCauley chiming in on my Kansas City Chiefs shirt. Got to see my Kansas Jayhawks yesterday. Kids got home from camp late last night, so we've been hanging out around the house as well. But did want, again, that's one of the benefits here is we can kind of pop on and talk about this kind of stuff and work together. And then, pop in and do that as well. But of course, up here around Horseshoe Lake and Walls and Horn Lake, again, where this is kind of strongest, just kind of checking here again behind the scenes with the folks there at NWS Memphis. Still radar indicated their description on this as it moves kind of from northwest to southeast at about 30 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and get a storm track on here and get some locations on that. And actually, before we do that, I'm going to actually kick this back over to kind of clear air mode. And I'm going to have to switch this over to the radar up there in Memphis. You can kind of see that kind of leading edge there, kind of that darker, kind of brighter gray there. That's where, again, that's the strong gusty winds, that outflow that we talked about yesterday, kind of running ahead of this line. So we'll go ahead and track that at about 30 miles per hour. So this is kind of that initial burst of wind that's about to kind of outrun the thunderstorms themselves. 30 miles per hour there, making its way toward Byhalia. Again, we're about 6. Let's go and switch this over here on the other side there for a moment. And we'll pull up the data itself. Again, DeSoto County under that severe thunderstorm warning. South Haven, Olive Branch, some of those spots. Byhalia, of course, right now for you, Cub Lake at about 7:48. Lewisburg there at about 6:48. Cub Lake and Lewisburg and Stonewall there as well. Victoria about 6:52. We're looking Lamar about 6:54. Red Bank 6:56. And if we kind of change the size here, and you'll get kind of it expanding out. This goes beyond exactly where precisely the warning is there. But you'll note there, we're looking Grand Junction 6:53, Hernando 6:54, Holly Springs 7:08, Snow Lake Shores about 7:10, work toward Senatobia 7:20, Potts Camp 7:29, Hickory Flat 7:37, eventually Blue Mountain and Ripley and locations there about 7:44, 7:45. We'll take that slightly farther out on the length of this track and get all the way to Myrtle there about 7:47, New Albany about 8 o'clock. If it can hold together there, Oxford 8:05. And Caleb, that does remain one of the questions is whether or not, it does truly kind of fully hold together for all those locations as it heads toward the south and east. Mm-hmm. Now, you have had a chance to pull up some cameras there from the Mississippi Department of Transportation.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at them. It's a little bit laggy on our side, just trying to look at some, and I was flipping through them all to try to get a good visual. There we go. Okay, of course, the one that I clicked on right here finally shows me one of the skies.
Doesn't always work like that when you try to pull it up on camera.
Exactly. Just had to put the pressure on MDOT. So there we go. Kind of showcasing some of those darker clouds, which am I able to get this full screen, or do we kind of just
you should be able, it should say like high quality video or one of those down below. What are the 3 it says?
Let's see if this will do it.
And then you'll hit there's like a full screen button that goes with it, assuming that
promising.
Okay, so yeah, there you go.
Ta-da.
So that's kind of the low-hanging shelf cloud there. I'll let you take it away for a second here.
Yeah, no, this is kind of showcasing kind of just the heavy amounts of rainfall that's making its way closer and closer into North Mississippi. And I'd be curious to see if we could see any lightning strikes associated with this, just with how energetic it is. But hoping to keep those cloud to cloud, not really seeing many make its way closer down towards the ground. So still, this is what a lot of you guys up there in North Mississippi are going to see a lot of within pretty much the next hour as this line of thunderstorms continues to push into North Mississippi. Kind of looks a little bit eerie with those darker clouds making its way into our viewing area into North Mississippi, just showcasing a little bit taller, higher up, that sunshine not quite making it all the way towards the bottom of the cloud. So that's kind of what gives it its darker look. And of course, once that's over, you guys, you'll start seeing some heavier rainfall associated with it as well. So that's a perfect visual, which I'm going to keep this one up just so we can keep going back to it. So hopefully I'll keep that one highlighted. I want to also see, Matt, if we have any power outages. I started to pull that one up, but thankfully not too many being reported. I know this one kind of lags behind a few minutes, but that'll be another thing I kind of keep my eyes on, but not seeing too many. I know there's 20 out in DeSoto County at this current time frame, and then none reported in Marshall. So those will be two counties I'll continue to keep my eyes on as this line pushes further into North Mississippi.
Appreciate that. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut there in our downtown Tupelo studios. Resetting things here for a moment. It's 6:50 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut. It's Saturday. It's family day. You get Chief's shirt, Matt, and then suited up Caleb back in the studio. Power outages up into Tennessee. We're sitting about 200 up there just north of the state line, Shelby County area there, 600 just to the east, and then back out into Arkansas, 300 or so outages. So they're not extreme. I would say a lot of these probably coming from lightning strikes more than just about anything else. One thing our meteorologist Maggie McCauley behind the scenes noting is about 8 flights delayed at Memphis International Airport so far with this storm. Of course, wind shear, strong winds from these storms, the reason why that we have access to, if we're honest, that radar that we look at often there from the Memphis International Airport there. So not terribly shocking that we would then have, again, some strong wind gusts being reported from there. So that wind shear, likely something, again, delaying folks kind of trying to get out this evening. So again, one of the many different impacts coming from this severe thunderstorm warning. Some of those strongest wind gusts. If we can get some of the cameras there, I'd say along 69, 269, Caleb, might be a good spot to be able to kind of pull up some of those as well. Kind of showing those. Notice the lightning obviously lagging a little bit behind that up there closer to walls versus where some of the stronger wind gusts kind of running a little bit ahead of that location. Check for those wind. I'm going to look at the wind shear a couple different ways. Again, the reds there showing that it's away from the radar site up in Millington, Tennessee. So that's what's kind of heading southward with all that there. So some power disruption certainly possible. You see 800 or so strikes we showed just on the screen here over the last hour. If we go 30 minutes ago, it was about 500. So clearly, obviously, as the storm moves in, the lightning strikes continuing to sort of pick up, but they are obviously lagging behind some of the gusty winds that'll run ahead. That's maybe you can just sort of see that there along 269 on Mama Justice Doppler radar here. This is some of the gusty wind flowing in behind this there, kind of heading out almost to Byhalia, starting to outrun it. Now, I don't know that those are necessarily going to be all the way up to up to 58 mile per hour winds. That'd be severe. Severe would be 58 mile per hour winds or 1 inch hail. I don't think we're talking 1 inch hail. I'll check our True Shield hail threat on this again. I'm looking for the hail swath. Not much of that has crossed into Mississippi at this point, so it's most significant up to the north of us still at this point in time up that direction. So a sign that there's probably not a ton of hail out of this. We do show near the Walls community there where there's one spot, if we get in really close, where we do have some of the darker purple up there, again, just kind of west of 61, just south of the Mississippi-Tennessee state line. That is one spot there where this shows possibly hail up to around, well, it says at a maximum 3 inches in size. So that could be severe hail there. We're going to have to look at this three-dimensionally to get a good angle on that. So if you watch us pretty often, you know that this is that toy that I like to show quite a bit because I think it does a good job of kind of cutting through. And this is essentially just the 3D version of Mama Justice Doppler radar, but sometimes we can see it like that. The purplish sort of white that shows up there. I'm going to cut out the outsides of the clouds as well. We'll go to 2D mode. That is some large hail, or at least some hail that's up in the thunderstorm there that has yet to fall to the surface. So at the lowest levels, we don't have the brightest returns there because it hasn't yet truly fallen. But whatever that is, whether it's just blinding rainfall or look like it couple scans ago, right there, about 646, so we're about 10 minutes ago, that was solidly some pretty significant hail up there in the storm. But it does look like it has somewhat melted, and this is one thing that kind of gets us this time of year from time to time, maybe melted a little bit on the way down. Still some large hail, and you can see how it is descending. As I'll bring it in a little closer here, you'll notice how if I go back a few minutes here, it's sort of forming a little higher up and now descending. That's part of the process. Now see how we have that pink showing up there at ground level? So now some of the big hail there just west of US 61. Again, we're north of, essentially, the 269, 69 is a little south of that there. So we're a little north of 69 in northwest kind of DeSoto County. And this is going to be some hail. Probably the biggest hail that's falling is going to fall just outside of where we have our official warning. So we'll make this kind of a short-term track here. The storm, we need to double check that 30 miles per hour. I don't think this is moving 30 miles an hour. But we'll say I'm going to drop it down to 25, and then we'll double check this. But Walls, again, you're right underneath where this big hail is. I don't know that it makes it all the way or full 12 miles on our track there. So I'm going to keep this a little shorter because it's probably going to drop before that point in time. We're going to widen our track just a little bit to make sure we've got it. But Walls at 658 for you. This is about to probably dump some hail. It could be up around quarter size, maybe a little larger than that, and certainly some blinding rainfall. Yep, you can see how now it's expanded down more toward the ground. So the fact that this is now kind of dropping out right there near 61, we probably have some issues. I do see Caleb watching some of our cameras. They're back in our downtown Tupelo studios there. What's that location we're looking at?
This one is off of I-55. So this was the best one I could get. Let me see if I can shift this over for you guys to kind of see some of those darker clouds, because this way the camera faces north to where we can see those storms pushing further and further in. So you can just kind of see the darker kind of cloud cover out there as that line we're facing north continues to push further and further into North Mississippi. So again, here's another look on kind of the contrast between where you'll be and kind of where you see that line. So a lot darker further up north. It'll start to become a little bit brighter further on south and kind of just west of the line moving into North Mississippi. So it's still bringing that heavy rainfall. Matt was just talking about that hail that is also a potential with this, but wind continues to be the biggest threat with this line that continues pushing on through. We already saw what wind could do yesterday unwarned to some trees here in Blue Springs and Tupelo, which is why we want to continue taking this pretty seriously throughout the evening.
Well, and that's part of the reason we did some coverage without, the warnings. We try to give that kind of advanced heads up whenever possible there, and that's part of the reason we did that. And you did a great job covering the folks there that had that impact. I've adjusted our track just a little bit here, Caleb, because it does look like the hail portion of this is probably going a little more east than the way I initially tracked it there. So we show Walls at 658 and current time is 657. So that big hail kind of dropping over you right now. So you've had a few minutes heads up on that. I'm moving there toward Holly Hills. The Days community ahead of this. Holly Hills we show at 706. Glover 659 again over top of Walls right now. They're eventually heading toward Dean's Corner about 714 and Horn Lake at 714. Most of the big hail, or at least this batch of big hail, should drop out of it probably before it gets to Horn Lake. It's really going to be pretty much right over Walls. You can see kind of where that's all sort of dropping out right now at this point in time. It's going to reset things here for a moment. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut. A couple things that you're looking at here on Mama Justice Doppler radar at this moment. The yellow represents a severe thunderstorm warning for DeSoto and Shelby counties. Of course, Shelby County in Tennessee, DeSoto County in northwest Mississippi, far northwest Mississippi. That in effect until 7:15. Some damaging wind potential out of this, but I would say some big hail about to fall on the Walls community there just outside of our official warning here. Some other hail, it looks just east of Horseshoe Lake, starting to kind of form there as well aloft in this one. Our Caleb Edelblut has been looking at a number of cameras that we do have there in the parts of DeSoto County. It has obviously the kind of a rough sort of look, the way it looks out and about there up in northwest Mississippi with the low-hanging clouds, the shelf clouds that we have seen out of this. No tornado threat out of this storm. Damaging winds and hail would be the main impacts if we were to see something out of this storm that was potentially severe. So that's kind of the headlines that we have here in the Room to Room Weather Center as of 6:59, almost 7 o'clock. Of course, this broadcast started as our 6 o'clock broadcast a little earlier on. Then, of course, when the warnings were issued, extended by our Caleb Edelblut. For those of you watching us that maybe don't know, we are Mississippi Live Weather. We're a 24/7 streaming service based out of the Tupelo, Mississippi area. If you're catching us on social media, Facebook, YouTube, make sure to download our Mississippi Live Weather app for iOS and Android devices, Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV as well. Because we do get power outages from time to time. Those TV apps are good. Of course, smartphone gives you the alerts you need. And one of the things that we try to talk about quite a bit, of course, is our weather call, which allows you to know if you're in the danger zone for severe weather. We'll talk, of course, more about that here in a couple minutes. The other member of our broadcast team this evening, our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, and again, looking underneath one of those shelf clouds now. Again, they look eerie. Sometimes you'll see spinny sort of stuff, but no tornadoes, just wind and hail.
Yeah. That's exactly right, Matt. We're not talking about any lowering occurring. It's just, generally low clouds, but we're not going to see anything kind of droop down and fall with these darker, kind of scarier looking clouds moving on through. It's just showcasing that line, kind of pushing into North Mississippi, kind of keeping that intensity with those stronger winds. And we could potentially see quite a few flashes of lightning as well, as that's been another thing we've talked about with how energetic these storms are. So quite a few rumbles of thunder kind of in the forecast throughout the next few minutes, next few hours for us here in North Mississippi. But it just kind of showcases the contrast and how dark that line can be, with those clouds being a little bit taller, and then even covering it up over here a lot more lighter. It's just kind of showcasing that contrast between the two. So still kind of seeing maybe even some people pulled off there, kind of some sirens going on. So wanted to take this seriously, especially if you're out and about, kind of getting to and from your Saturday evening plans, where that heavy rainfall can be a little bit blinding sometimes, and just wanted to pull over, let it pass on through. And then wind and hail, those continue to be our big threats tonight.
Absolutely. Our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut there. Hey, Caleb, if you can, we'll check to see pictures coming in. I probably should have done that while I was looking at something else instead.
Well, I just looked a second ago. We've only had one out there in Walnut at like 4:30. So I can get that one pulled up, but no recent ones just yet.
That's okay. That's good. That means we're not getting damage out of this at this point, and hopefully that remains the case, that perhaps we'll be lucky enough that we don't over the next little bit here. Our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, in our downtown Tupelo studio. So severe thunderstorm warning continues DeSoto County until 7:15. We've talked a bit here in the last few minutes. I've kind of kept the 3D radar portion of this on because it's showing the hail that we have aloft there. Again, pretty much right over top of the Walls community. It looks like there's another spot of fairly decent-sized hail closer to Horn Lake. But again, I say fairly decent sized hail. That's trying to produce some large hail aloft. It was not quite what we had over here. Let me give you a perspective. We'll make this a 30-minute loop here. And so this is an example of that hail kind of forming there, falling, and a lot of that big hail very near the Walls community, right along 61, where a lot of that big hail has fallen. We get kind of a return like that. That typically is some big hail, or at least blinding rainfall. And sometimes we get some really gusty winds as one of these collapses as well. So one of those three still obviously impactful, all those three in this sort of situation, and stuff that factors we need to continue to be paying very, very close attention to as well. I see Caleb's got that picture up behind the scenes. So let's go ahead and kind of check out what you're looking at there as of 7:02.
Yes. This was actually a little kind of thunderstorm pop-up shower that appeared in Walnut, Mississippi. Let me move this down for you guys so that we can kind of see the contrast. But even just some of those afternoon pop-up showers that we discussed earlier during the 6 o'clock broadcast that can kind of just make their way through North Mississippi, pop out of thin air, dump that heavy amount of rainfall. And even these kind of showcasing those darker, kind of grayer, scarier looking clouds. But again, not really imposing that tornadic threat this evening or even earlier on this afternoon. So this is kind of a mini version of what we're kind of seeing throughout those cameras I was just showing a few minutes ago, of just kind of these darker returns making their way into North Mississippi, dumping that heavy amount of rainfall, potential for some hail as well that I know Matt was tracking out with that hail swath presented by True Shield Roofing. Hopefully not seeing that continue to push into North Mississippi, but this was actually around 4:30 earlier this afternoon in Walnut, Mississippi. So just a few pop-up showers that we were talking about earlier that have made their way through North Mississippi. Now we're talking about that line of storms that will push now into DeSoto County. And continuing to look at power outages, those have not been overwhelming at this moment either, but with wind being our top threat, that's going to be another thing that I'll continue looking at very closely, and also looking forward to seeing kind of what you guys see out there out in the field. Of course, don't go out looking for it, but of course it kind of gives us a good visual on those storms pushing into North Mississippi. And like Matt mentioned, it's a good thing when we don't see too many pictures, because that means not much is happening out there.
Yeah, that's hopefully the goal, in this situation, to have it to where it's not too rough with that. We are going to show you kind of a video shot here of sort of what this looks out to the naked eye, as we'll bring it back in here on Mama Justice Doppler radar. I'm going to switch it over to our cameras with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. This one in the Crenshaw area gives you kind of a perspective here. We can't look directly north because of the way the water tower is positioned there, but you can definitely see that shelf cloud that we have there. Again, there's kind of a laminar layer up here, and these always look a little worse than the reality. Of course, for one reason or another, the wasps absolutely love these cameras. Maybe that's just the wasps love every place this time of year. Certainly the Law Pond house, it sometimes feels like that's the case. But this is kind of looking in a moment here to try to get this position just right. Looking toward the deep blues, of course, that'd be your heavy rainfall, your heavy precipitation there in the background. And then, of course, we have kind of what we call the shelf cloud. That's just the part that will sometimes look like it has little fingers and stuff like that, kind of setting down. And this sort of this laminar layer we have right above it as well. Think of this as the rain from the thunderstorm hitting the ground, and then the cold air from that rain kind of coming toward you as it rolls toward you. Very similar to if you were to spill a cup of water on the table, the leading edge of that water, as you watch that sort of advance, that's going to sometimes have a little roll to it. That's what this is kind of look like from time to time as well. So we're looking back into that up to the north, kind of into that there as well. So you'll see, again, the low-hanging sort of clouds with that. That does not mean just because we have dark clouds it's necessarily severe weather. But in this case, again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning up there for locations in DeSoto County. And we do expect it's still possible to have some hail and certainly some wind reports out of this. But a shot there from our camera there in Crenshaw, thanks to North Mississippi Storm Chasers, and I guess to a certain extent impeded by North Mississippi WASP. Sometimes they'll do what they're going to do. So let's get a look at that here for a moment. We're going to clear everything off. So that would be looking here, Crenshaw right there on the map, right? So I'm going to circle that for you briefly here. We'll just kind of put a little red dot here. That is where we're looking, and we're looking kind of this direction up into those storms. So all that low-hanging stuff is this red that you see right there, the rainfall, and then gusty winds with that. This is not officially under that severe thunderstorm warning, nor was where we had that largest hail a minute ago kind of showing up out of these. That is just a little bit to the east. You can kind of see where that white line is there, showing location South Haven there would be an example of one of those spots underneath this severe thunderstorm warning, officially there until 7:15. Current time is 7:07. I do not see a lot there from what they're looking at. Heavy rainfall reported by spotters there on the ground in South Haven as this came through. Not a lot of info coming from NWS Memphis on whether or not they'll extend this. I'll say kind of looking at this, wouldn't be shocking if they did not, but certainly some gusty winds possible with this as well. And we'll look at that here in just a moment. I want to bring in our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, who's kind of watching this again behind the scenes in our downtown Tupelo studios. And Caleb, what you have up there looks like some power outages.
Yes, these are some power outages in the most northwestern portion of North Mississippi. So right off of the Mississippi River, in between Mississippi River and Horn Lake. And this is on Old Highway 61. So this icon you see down here, that yellow one, just shows that 51 to 250 customers affected. So you can see quite a bit of outages kind of along Old Highway 61, Thomas Road, in the Norfolk community, where we can see some of those power outages. There were also a few reported in South Haven. I know you were just highlighting that line moving on through, not quite as drastic or kind of the area covered as the one we just saw in Norfolk. So I think that might actually be as far as I can zoom in. So closer towards the Town and County Drive area, still showcasing those customers affected pretty much right along the state line. We can actually see a little bit further west, closer towards the Mississippi River, yet again off of Ardell Road, I believe it is. And this is closer towards Michael Drive, Crystalline Lane. You can start to see some of those outages reported as well. That purple icon showcasing 1 to 50 customers affected as well. So power outages starting to come in, thankfully not overwhelming at this moment. This is Energy, kind of responsible for most northwestern portions of North Mississippi with power and outages out there. So thankfully not quite seeing too many outages reported at this moment, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it as this line pushes further into our area.
Absolutely. Our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, in our downtown Tupelo studios. Appreciate that. As we reset things here for a moment, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon here in the Room to Room Weather Center tracking storms in northwest Mississippi. We do not expect to have a lot of reports of severe weather tonight, but some sporadic large hail and a couple of strong wind gusts remain possible. We're up here in DeSoto County that we are watching this severe thunderstorm warning until at least 7:15. You'll notice there's one spot there where we were talking earlier on our True Shield hail threat where we had some of the largest hail. It does look like, again, in that purple there, we're in the probable category that we're talking about damaging hail out of this. Maybe some hail still there near the town of Walls, south of, I guess, of Walls there, and near Twin Lakes. Just west of Days and all this west of Horn Lake. A lot of lightning with this. You can see 610 strikes over the course of the last hour. If you rewind this about a half hour ago, you can see that the lightning strikes certainly on the increase. So these are going to be disruptive. They're going to be loud. But notice I've concentrated a lot outside of the yellow box. And the yellow box is the official severe thunderstorm warning as outlined by the National Weather Service. We have not had as much damaging wind potential show up on this recently. I'll make it again this 30-minute loop. What you can see here, this kind of leading edge there, that's the leading edge of the rain-cooled air stretching now through Holly Springs, south of Byhalia. That's what we call the gust front. And I sort of mentioned this a little bit ago. If you imagine that, somebody spilled water right here, and you're looking down on a table with spilled water, and that water then spreads out from there. That's kind of what's happened here is that water, that rain-cooled air has spread out farther ahead. And so it's the leading edge of that from time to time you'll get some gusty winds. That can cause some issues as well. That's what we had the issue when we had some of the damage in the Tupelo area yesterday. It came from that gust front. So I'm tracking here, sort of generally speaking, where that gust front is, which is spreading south and east, we'll say about 25 miles per hour. So if you're in the path of this does not immediately mean you're going to have damaging weather. And at some point, these storms will die out because you'll notice there's a pretty good gap. And I'll kind of point this out a little more here in a moment. Pretty good gap between the leading edge of these storms and where that gust front is. See how, the red's back here, and then there's this gray, you can see the map between, and then where that gust front is. The farther that gets detached, the more and more likely it is that these storms behind should die out, or at least not necessarily die out, but become less strong. So we do have some things kind of working in our favor to hopefully weaken these a bit more over the next little while here. Curious to see how our Futurecast radar on this for a moment. It's pretty decent on the positioning. Let's see how it goes on the movement. Sometimes it does an okay job on that. Give me just a moment to get that to populate in here. I'll say that. Looks like that is not populating at the moment, so we'll have to check in on that, but it's pretty close on the positioning. So here in a moment, once we get that up and going, that'll behave, I think, pretty well there. Let's actually make this a 1 hour loop. There we go. So this one on the east side there, heading more toward Middleton, and that's on a path that eventually heads more toward Corinth. It's possible that could be one of the stronger that we end up having to watch on this. Note the lightning, how I'll keep it on the last scan here. Note how that has the biggest amount of lightning, and then this one back here closer to Hernando has a big burst of lightning. There's kind of a gap in between. We talked again, that's where we had the gap there on that outflow. So that one could eventually continue to hold together Corinth, Iuka, Burnsville, possibly in the path of that one. And that one also, I think, has some severe weather potential continuing with it. I'm going to track the portion that's most likely to kind of move into North Mississippi if it were. We're going to go again 30 miles per hour, which was the speed we had earlier on that. and then extend that out a little bit more. That should complete. Give me a second. I apologize. That's just kind of flickering as I'm just sort of clicking the mileage out far enough. So we'll go back to 2 on the sides there. So looking farther ahead on this, Corinth, we're about 8:30 for you. Burnsville close to 9 o'clock. Iuka about 9:16 there. This part could have some damaging wind gusts sporadically with it, maybe some large hail as well, but some questions still as to how well that will end up holding on, but certainly one to watch closely. I'll say this, we have had no official word out of NWS Memphis, and no news usually is good news. In saying that, our severe thunderstorm warning set to expire here in just a moment or two at 7:15. I think it's likely then that the National Weather Service is going to allow that to expire on time because, I mean, I have not seen in our chat, and I'll bring Caleb in as we're discussing this here, have not seen a lot of reports coming in from up in Memphis from them of damage, stuff like that. It's a highly populated area, and I expect to see maybe a little bit more with this. Fair statement?
Yeah, no, I'm agree with that completely. So definitely a good thing because these storms definitely not out in the sticks compared to some places here in North Mississippi, and you'd expect to kind of get a few reports if they are performing that way. So definitely good news and getting no news.
Yeah, no news, good news, great news in this situation there. Okay, I agree to that. We'll look at that camera behind you. I'll come back, and then we'll probably, if we don't see anything else, I think we might go ahead and wrap this up here, just a few.
Oh, yeah. Well, taking a look at the camera here, this is on I-269, showcasing just some of those darker clouds and how once you can finally get past it, beautiful sunset is occurring for those not having to deal with it, but still just kind of showcasing some of these darker clouds out there in the distance. Looks pretty eerie. But one thing I also want to note, I've been flipping through all these cameras. I've only seen one flash of lightning. So I think a lot of these are hopefully happening up in the sky, cloud to ground, or not cloud to cloud, cloud to cloud. There we go. Not seeing too many lightning strikes occurring within the camera, at least not in all the ones I've clicked. So hoping to not see too many of those make their way down to the ground, but still kind of a cool shot showcasing some of those darker clouds out there in the distance. Also beautiful sunset continues further out west as that sun starts to set and will be a little bit prettier to those not having to deal with those storms and just those constant gray clouds over you guys. But this is on, again, I-269 as that line kind of officially crossing our state line, pushing further into North Mississippi. And now I'm looking on my radar behind the scenes, Matt, and I see that warning did expire. We're not seeing a new one at this time. So again, just kind of scary looking clouds, just those darker clouds, but thankfully nothing warned at this moment.
Okay, that's our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, in our downtown Tupelo studios. Appreciate that. As we reset things here, kind of set up expectations for a moment. It does look like, again, some flight delays there that we had in and around the Memphis area because of this just a little bit ago. And looks like, again, just looking at some of the departures there that have been pushed back just a little bit into this evening because of this. So I think they've adjusted some of the times. But hopefully that will be alleviated here fairly soon as these storms kind of continue to move away from the Memphis airport there. Aerial flood warning, you can see that beside me in effect because while these have produced some hail, but probably, though we have not had very many reports, thankfully, of that to this point here. The rainfall rate has been pretty significant. All these bright pinks there, extremely heavy rainfall that we have seen, and rainfall estimates up in excess of an inch or so already with storms that are just beginning to move in. So we expect that those numbers probably going to go up a bit before we're all said and done here with this. As we talked about a moment ago there, we don't really have any other storms of significance out there, and we do hopefully expect these storms to weaken as we go into and through this evening. But in some form or fashion, they could continue to kind of move in from the north and west. But there's our new warning for that other storm that we are tracking. So we are going to go ahead and continue coverage here on this, Caleb, because the storm up here that we tracked a minute ago near Grand Junction there, clipping northern sections of Tippah and Alcorn counties under a severe thunderstorm warning until 8 p.m. there. So similar spots to what we were looking at a moment ago. So procedurally here, one of the things, Caleb, that I'll kind of bring you back in here, that I've sort of learned on this. Again, I'm learning the best way to do this versus my old radar system. I think the best way to track one of these, at the old system, I just do a squall track and move on. But I think a cone track in this case can actually do a pretty good job if you get the right speed, right? So let's say 30 miles per hour is about what's going, right?
Okay.
And then what you do is you just, under track edit, you expand it. So like my beginning width, I'll do, say, 10 miles. Nope. Let's go 15 miles. There we go. And that actually does, I think, a better job of tracking it than if we used a squall track. So just kind of a wide cone track, as weird as that is, I think does a very effective job in this case.
I like it. No, it looks pretty good.
So anyway, that's just kind of a procedural sort of thing. Theo, we're looking at that for you at about 8:04. I know that's one of those folks there up in the far northern part of the state. Brownfield, we're looking about 7:43 or so. Some strong gusty winds possible out of this, some large hail not impossible out of this. But what you're looking at back there, I'm sure, is what a lot of folks are seeing, right, Caleb?
Oh, yeah. No, this is what a lot of people will see as that line continues to push into North Mississippi. You see that clear line on radar, that leading edge of just those darker reds. This is kind of what it looks like in real life or out in the field. Just kind of one of those, just again, scary looking clouds continuing to push into North Mississippi, and they can just kind of look pretty intense, and they'll drop some pretty heavy rainfall, potential for some hail. But again, want to keep emphasizing, we're not talking about a tornadic threat tonight. We're not anticipating any of those lowerings that we would see. So it's, again, just kind of these just lines pushing into North Mississippi, causing that lift to occur where we could see some of that heavy rainfall, the potential for some hail. That map continues to track out. And this is what a lot of us are seeing. So in some aspects, it looks kind of cool and pretty as it pushes into North Mississippi, but also bringing some of that heavy rainfall again with it. And I was even looking behind the scenes. This was actually what somebody sent in, and I believe it was Ashland. So showcasing that moved in around 7:06. So a little under 20 minutes ago as that line continues pushing into North Mississippi. So this was during that active severe thunderstorm warning, and now expired while we deal with a new one as it gets closer towards Tippah and Alcorn County. But this is kind of what y'all can expect out there as well. Just that leading edge as it kind of moves in, kind of bows out a little bit, bringing some of those heavier winds. And that's just kind of what you can see out there in the field at this moment.
Okay, it's our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, looking at the pictures sent in there. Appreciate that. We're going to look at a few different things, I think, folks at home, maybe some visuals that might relate there. In Oxford this evening, the severe storms that we're looking at are more north of you and obviously northwest. The storms up in DeSoto County gradually heading your direction. We're still more than an hour away from anything moving toward you. It's just kind of dark and dreary sort of clouds there that we're seeing as of this time. Our previously severe storm looking in from Crenshaw, those low-hanging clouds, again, there's a lot of different layers stacked up here as well. Any twisting and turning you might see there, not the WASP, get out of the way. But again, the rain-cooled air going along with that as well. 84 degrees in the Crenshaw area. We've swung around our cameras in Rienzi, in southern Alcorn County there, looking back into the storm. Now, this would be that severe storm. It's still a long ways away, but you can sort of see that shelf cloud even with it, even at this distance away. And our camera there in Iuka, again, a county farther to the east and still a long, long ways away. It's still quite a bit of time. Can't necessarily see any of the features there as well. This would be one that would be making its way toward Iuka eventually. It's still going to be a bit of time before, though, it makes it that far to the east. As we come back here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, how long would we be talking? Let's go ahead and extend this on our maybe too far out track, and let's go. That might be far enough away to catch this. So let's get Iuka into that list there so we get a time for you as we kind of pop down that map. So we show almost 9 o'clock, assuming about 30 miles per hour on that speed there for you. Let's double check to make sure that speed is an accurate one here on Mama Justice Doppler radar. So give me just a moment to be able to extend this back, because we were tracking that south moving storm more effectively a little bit ago. So that has moved. That's only about 25 miles per hour there. So that is not quite as impressive as we thought. So let's go ahead and adjust that speed down a little bit, which It's not the worst thing in the world. Let's go back. I'm going to go probably 27 just in case. So we'll have to go a little farther out on that. And so you notice that extended time. Now, it's not impossible that it picks up a little bit of speed from this, but we show 9:19 for you there in Iuka. So still, that's a bit of time considering the time is not 6:23. That's 7:23 at this point. But still a distance away as it's really moving more close to Tippah County and Alcorn County in the short term. So that's why in Corinth, you're not even officially in this warning. It'd be 8:30 or so before it made it toward you, assuming it holds together. You can see a big cluster of lightning here with this. So power disruption certainly possible, as well as potentially hail and damaging winds. We'll look at this a couple different ways. We'll look at our True Shield hail swath. And we'll have to kind of pull off all those lightning strikes to be able to see that. Looking from probably too far away down there in Monroe County, but similar position to what we get from the radar there up in the Memphis area. As we show that hail swath, again, potentially some severe hail with this. Looking for the winds. We do show those stronger gusty winds we call the wind shear, which would be on that gust front, kind of running a little bit ahead of where you're seeing the actual storm. So going back to the radar mode here, the rainfall mode, you can see kind of the edge of the rainfall where that all is there. And then if we kind of kick it back over here to our shear rate, looking at the rotation threat. Again, while I say rotation threat on this here, it's a change in wind direction. I would not necessarily say I'm concerned about like true rotation as much as the strong winds as it comes in. There'll be from time to time a shift in that wind, and that's what this is detecting there. So doing a good job on that gust front there approaching. That'd be Tennessee 125, Mississippi 15 there, north of Cleveland, moving near Hopewell at this time, as well as Brady. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut back in our studios there, again, looking at one of the many cameras that we have here across North Mississippi. Where's that one at, Caleb?
So this one is just outside of Byhalia, and I wanted to go back to that just because MDOT has more cameras further northwest, but this one kind of showcasing everything. We're seeing those darker clouds continue to push in, that sunset off in the distance. But I finally found a camera. We'll see if y'all can kind of see it here on the monitor, if we can get another one. But all the lightning still very energetic, and it's out there kind of in those darker clouds, dumping that heavy amount of rainfall. It kind of looks like the clouds make it all the way down to the surface, just due to those trees and horizon continuing to get closer and closer. But that is where we've seen quite a few flashes of lightning, and you might be able to tell the camera shaking just a little bit as well. So still just showcasing the heavy wind moving through North Mississippi, quite a few rumbles of thunder with some of those flashes of lightning. And a few of us kind of witnessing this, especially if you're like that car driving further north, getting closer towards that line, you'll be kind of driving into pretty much that blinding rain. I was driving in it yesterday where you just got to take it slow, put those wipers on full speed, the hazards on and everything, just take the necessary precautions. But this camera kind of showcasing what this looks like as it continues pushing closer towards Byhalia, showcasing that kind of line of clouds moving on through. I wish it'd give me another flash of lightning. I saw almost 4 or 5 while you were talking about the other system or kind of storm that we have pushing closer towards Alcorn County at this moment. But still dealing with just a few flashes of lightning. We're not talking about anything tornadic. We're not going to see any of those on the cameras this evening. Still just heavy wind gusts and the potential for some hail, Matt.
Absolutely. And that hail, again, one of the things that we have to continue to track on this as well. As we're coming in here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, we're looking 3D here. And you can see, again, this is some of that heavy precipitation and perhaps some hail that kind of comes in with that as well. So Middleton, of course, for you at 742, kind of the next bigger city sort of in the path of this as it moves in from the north and west. In the shorter term here, kind of drop it down the city size just a little bit. We'll show that pretty much right now, again, Rogers Springs, Sugar Hill, about 635 there, 638 Lisbon, Hebron there at about 740, excuse me. All those times are 7s. I got my Chiefs shirt on, so my time scale might be a little off. I got it on what we're doing on the actual weather end, but apparently the numbers aren't going to come out of my mouth effectively as well. But yeah, you can see some of those, again, folks, looking ahead of this over the next little bit. Let's go ahead and cut through this thunderstorm here and see what it's capable of. So let's go ahead and we will slice out some of the outsides of the cloud there so we can see all the way through, and then cut it to the most intense parts of the storm. I don't have anything as intense as when we were looking at some of that big hail potential earlier on. We have some spots where perhaps we have just the littlest bit of that, but I don't see anything there that I'm too terribly concerned with. So I think we're okay. on the hail front, at least now. Let's make this a 30-minute loop here, kind of compare how things have behaved. Briefly for a moment there, we might have had a little bit over Hickory Valley, but looks like less and less over the last few minutes here. So that's a good sign that hopefully that part has diminished. In saying that, right where we see, along Tennessee 57 here, I'm going to backtrack on what I said a minute ago there. That is some shear, and that would be a spot where maybe we have a little bit of rotation on that. Let's go ahead. Again, I'm looking just on the precip mode. The wind might show that this is gusted out. It is far from doing anything of significant interest. In saying that, maybe the broadest little bit of rotation there and where that kind of backs back in. Again, it's a long ways away from this being something of significant concern. But we'll see if I have a shot. Nope, too far away from the radar there at the Memphis airport. Let's go back to Millington here. Just sometimes when we get a little indentation up here, sometimes you get some broad rotation. I think more than that, right along the leading edge there is where those strong gusty winds could be severe. So Brownfield, Essery Springs, Cuba, back up Chewalla, Winnesoga, Gift, Theo, all kind of in the path of that part here. These aren't going to be necessarily super long-lived on where they are the strongest, but right there along that leading edge, again, some damaging gusts, a possibility. So severe thunderstorm warning has been issued there until 8 p.m. Does involve Tippah and Alcorn counties here in the northern part of Mississippi. Of course, up in Tennessee, it's Hardeman and McNairy counties, Tennessee, involved under that. One thing that we always try to mention is make sure that you have multiple ways to find out if you're in the danger zone. Facebook is great, but you got to be browsing through to find it. YouTube, all these other things work well. But Weather Call, whether you're in Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, does not matter. Weather Call will work for you. It is a phone alert that lets you know if you're in the danger zone. So if you're in that box, that yellow box that you see right beside me here, right? You can kind of see the outline of that box. If you're in one of those boxes, it gives you a call for severe thunderstorms, and you have to make sure to check it so that it does baseline severe thunderstorms, but it'll do severe thunderstorm warnings. It does tornado warnings, as well as flash flood emergencies. It'll call you back if tornadoes confirmed to be heading toward your location. It does have a cost that goes along with it, but it's something that if you've ever watched what we do here, you'll know my phone goes off almost immediately before I can usually say that a warning's been issued. It's that fast, and seconds can save lives. Weather Call, one of those things certainly we recommend for you and your family. And again, something you can pick up here on Mississippi Live, and something that I have been using to protect my family for 2 decades now. I mean, fully 20 years, I think 2006, maybe it was 2007. Either way, we're almost right at 20 years that Weather Call's been protecting my family. So that's part of the reason I talk about it. Have always talked about it when we were back at the TV station, because it's just that good and it's that fast. So anyway, make sure you have a way to find out if you're in the danger zone, and certainly that's what we're tracking here as well. As we reset things here on Mama Justice Doppler radar at 7:32, we've previously had a severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for locations back closer to Olive Branch and locations back there. I'm going to send it to our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, again, who's been monitoring some of the issues we've had with power outages, things like that as well. Caleb?
Well, thankfully, I'm not reporting about outages. We had somebody in the comments actually saying that they got some good pictures out there in Walnut, Mississippi, I believe. And they were asking how they can submit those pictures to us, Matt, and kind of give that to us as we continue into the evening, trying to give us those eyes out there in the field. So I know, Matt, I don't know if you'll come back, kind of explain that, but we have our Mississippi Live weather app where you can submit it through there. There's a place when you go to the home screen, you press submit pictures, and that will pull up here, and I can actually pull them up on the monitor here, and we can showcase them for you guys.
Okay, yeah, and so that's one of the many ways in which folks can help us. Pull one of those up for a second. What you're going to have to do for me, because it has, we thought we'd solved the problem with Splash Top, and we have not. So you're going to have to click on the screen, the main radar screen on links. You're going to have to hit F. Then you're going to have to go to the lower right-hand corner. Then you're going to have to search for Splash Top Streamer. Then you're going to have to reset that, and then you're going to have to start it again.
That's something I'm about to have to do?
That's something you're about to have to do.
Okay, I can do that, and I can call Gabe behind the scenes, and we can get that set up.
So what you'll want to do is you want to restart the Splash Top Streamer on links.
Okay. Okay, I can do
So
that.
you might have to do Task Manager to do that. But I think we've got another solution. I don't have it quite done yet, but we'll have that done soon.
Sounds good. I'll get on that.
Okay, so I
Gabe,
appreciate
just
that.
sent me a
So
text saying call me. We'll get it done.
Okay, perfect. That will work. Okay, so let's pull up again that picture here. Some of the pictures that that Caleb has kind of had pulled up there. You see, these are many of them that have been sent in from around the area. Some pretty sunsets, quite a few again. Rainbow pictures going back to last night. A lot of low clouds. What we don't have any pictures of, thankfully, no tornadoes that have occurred this evening. We do not expect to have tornadoes or anything along those lines. So thankfully, that is not the scenario that we're set up for this evening. It's possible that from time to time we'll get some damaging wind gusts. That is what we are watching. But thankfully at this point we have not had a lot of reports of that. In saying that, one way in which we know that is because you guys usually sound off pretty well for us and let us know exactly what you guys are seeing here. Give me a moment to make sure I've got the right one of these clicked on behind the scenes. That should be our chat right there. Nope, that is not the chat. So let me hit it again and see if it pops up. There we are. Voila. Appreciate y'all watching and all your reports that you guys end up sending in with us. As you'll note there, again, looking bad doesn't necessarily mean it truly is bad. It's certainly, I think the looks a little bit worse than the reality of the situation is out there. Sometimes we'll say the bark is a little bit worse than the bite in this case. And I'd say, thankfully, that is the situation we're at here, where these storms certainly look, I think, a little bit worse than they are. But that nonetheless, it still prompts a severe thunderstorm warning there for parts of Tippah and Alcorn counties in effect until 8 p.m. That part of this thunderstorm is a little bit stronger. What happened to a cold front yesterday? Well, it depends on where you live. So I'll try not to be too over the top on that there. But let's just say that at this time of year, there's not a lot that we typically get out of cold fronts. And so shouldn't be too terribly shocked that this one has been a little bit underwhelming for us. That tends to be the case in this situation here. So again, showing one of the, on kind of our grittier version of Mama Justice Doppler radar. Note how a few minutes ago when we were noting that, this also kind of picked up on a little bit of the rotation that we had there up kind of in that part that's heading more toward Middleton. The portion of this is kind of now finally moving into northern parts there of, that would be Tippah County as well at this time. And it does look as though we've got kind of links back up and going behind the scenes there. So I'll probably switch back over that here in just a moment so we can update on a storm track on that as well. Appreciate Caleb for getting that up and going. And as we kind of switch back over here, well, you'll note again that still severe thunderstorm pushing there closer to Middleton, and now just kind of the northwest portion of Tippah County near Mount Moriah, north of Calebiot. And this is going to kind of track near 72 there, eventually into Corinth, if it kind of continues heading that direction as well. Does look like a new severe thunderstorm. No, excuse me, the last update then we have from MWS Memphis is when they issued the warning. So that's usually a good sign. Let's check with our North Mississippi storm chasers as well on this, on what they are seeing. And we'll kind of go alongside that, checking our camera with the North Mississippi storm chasers there. Go the one in Alcorn County, again, kind of looking into this as it gets closer. This is, again, north of Rienzi, kind of looking into the gray sort of clouds. On the screen there, you can see where we just barely have this sort of shown up there in the corner. And by the reason, Caleb, I'll bring you on here for a second. Two things on that. Good job getting Splashtop redone. Did you do a full reboot, or did you reboot the whole computer, or did...
We didn't reboot the whole computer. We just closed it and then reopened it.
Okay. So Lynx or Splashtop?
We closed Lynx and then rebooted like Splashtop, and then reopened it.
So you don't necessarily have to close Lynx for that, I don't think.
Okay.
But when you come back after that, if you hit F if you click on the Lynx screen, hit F, it'll go back full screen. So that's the reason why it's kind of done that weird thing like that.
Interesting. Okay,
anyway.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, F for full screen, right?
F for full
Not
screen.
Control F or anything like that, just F.
I'll have to remember that.
On that. So any new pictures coming in? Not
yeah,
yet?
I mean, this is a fantastic shot out there in Tippersville. This was just sent in after we kind of reminded them that they could send it in through the app. So I don't know if this is recent or kind of what moved on through, but I mean, the structure on this as it kind of just blows on through Tippersville, just kind of seeing that kind of steep kind of curve as that line pushes on in. So when you kind of see that line here on our Mama Justice Doppler radar, you're kind of seeing that, and you can see the QR screens here on the bottom where you can submit these pictures that we will broadcast, kind of showcases what's ongoing out there in the field here in North Mississippi. So we can also see what's happening on radar, what it looks like out there for you guys. So when you kind of see those kind of just steep kind of red lines, just that intense kind of line of thunderstorms moving on through, could be what it looks like as it gets closer and closer towards your cities, kind of showcasing that intensity. I know we did have a few lightning strikes on that Alcorn camera that you're playing around with. So very energetic storms, very gusty as well. Those continue to be kind of the big threats tonight.
They do indeed. I appreciate that. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut there. North Mississippi Storm Chasers also kind of looking at that camera behind me as well, sort of adjusting it as they're getting used to it. I'm going to see if I can get it to focus a little bit better. They're looking again toward the west and northwest, sort of into that storm. Does not have particularly, I'm going to turn the sensitivity on that. Nope, I think I got to put it this way. Showing a little lightning there, again, looking toward the horizon. And right there, and you got to go way deep into it, you can sort of see that would probably be our shelf cloud right there. So it'll be some time before it gets a little closer, but that's that heavier part of that thunderstorm there that's prompted the severe thunderstorm warning for Alcorn County that remains in effect there in Alcorn County until northwest Alcorn County. You can just see it just barely clipping northwest Alcorn County until 8 p.m. Our Iuka camera still probably a little too far away from that, and we'll look down from Oxford here in a moment as well. Starting to get darker. Again, it's going to be a while before it gets into Iuka as that's still moving in. And looking from Oxford, we're looking into the weaker part of this line is the one that had our warning associated with it just a little bit ago. Previously, when it was up around DeSoto County, again, a lot of dark clouds there in Oxford, as that one just kind of looking back toward the north as well. I'll slide that camera just slightly. There we go. Ooh, whoa, I did the thing. Sorry. There we are. Looking more north now. Sort of into that. Again, a lot of dark clouds. Oxford, no severe weather threat for you anywhere in the near term here, as these storms still are a bit a ways away from you at this time. So Caleb, I'm going to have you go back over to the chroma key. I'll kind of trade you back out here for a few minutes as we continue to kind of track these severe thunderstorms sort of moving through the far northern part of the state. Again, most storms are going to remain below severe limits, but still remains a possibility that from time to time, Caleb, that we could potentially end up seeing some damaging wind gusts, and certainly the ones north of the Tennessee state line are the ones we're most concerned with that, right?
Yes, sir. And I'm assuming I'm good to kind of click links here and reopen that. Perfect. I see you behind the screens because it just said that my connection was lost on this end. So I won't be able to do anything on the monitor. Which, yeah. Okay. I can continue looking at this screen. I just won't be able to do anything on my end and change anything.
Yeah, go ahead and get it reopened.
Okay,
on that.
I can do that.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and track it. Let me know when that's done, and we'll talk here in a second. Well, it looks like you should be back in now. Okay, go for it. Yeah, anytime that happens after a disconnection, it'll disconnect both sides. So you're good to log back in when you need to for that.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Matt.
So anytime you lose, so just so you know, just for kind of purposes, anytime you lose connection there, unless Maggie's somehow involved, I lost connection as well. So anytime you lose connection there, feel free to start the process of going and just restarting that Splashtop streamer again, and we should be in good shape.
All righty. Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay.
All righty. Well, then let's take a look at this severe thunderstorm warning. It's going to continue pushing into North Mississippi, kind of barely clipping Tippah and Alcorn County, and we can see that kind of almost Boeing segment just showcasing those kind of gusty winds that are going to occur to move through North Mississippi. So this severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 8 o'clock, and it'll affect Hornsby by 7:52, Raymer 8:15, Selmer 8:19, Guys 8:24, Eastview 8:25, Corinth around 8:33. Again, if it can continue kind of keeping up with this pace. Stantonville around 8:39, Mitchie around 8:39 as well, Farmington 8:41, Crump 8:54, Burnsville School around 9:03, Iuka 9:19, Walnut Grove around 9:27, and Waterloo around 1:29. And that's kind of getting closer, kind of outside of North Mississippi. So kind of already showcasing it, kind of entering into the furthest northwestern portions of Alabama by that 9:30 mark as well. And again, that's if it can continue to kind of maintain this strength as it moves on through. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning we're continuing to track. Let me clear all this out. This is the warning that is currently ongoing here in North Mississippi, just kind of barely clipping the most northwestern or northeastern portions of our viewing area, and northeastern Tippah County, northwestern Alcorn County, as that line continues to move on through. So we can go, let's see which radar site we're using right now. Okay, the Memphis one. We'll keep it here on the Memphis one, zoom back in, kind of go through all of our threats, because I know we kind of want to know what's happening within this storm as it continues pushing through North Mississippi. So as far as those winds, that continues to be our biggest concern tonight, because we've already seen some of the damage that it could cause yesterday. We're seeing that today with some severe thunderstorm warnings in place. You kind of see just how gusty these can be. Those bright red returns as it blows away from the radar. You kind of see some of that green as well. That's kind of the inflow kind of being brought into the storm. So definitely very gusty, very windy as these kind of showers and storms make its way closer towards you guys. We're also not really seeing those bright red or green couplets that we would call them, velocity couplets, that shows rotation occurring. Thankfully, not quite seeing that, especially what Matt was pointing out earlier with it kind of trying to bow out a little bit. I'm not seeing that kink in it anymore. So that continues to be a very positive note here for us here in North Mississippi. Now, one thing I do want to note here with our peak impacts, just kind of showcasing what many of us will be experiencing. Not only is it that heavy rainfall, which you see here in the darker green, but take a look at the pink and purple, a little bit darker shade of that purple, showcasing where that hail a little bit more probable as it tries to make its way down to the surface. But another important thing that Matt noted earlier was just during the summertime, it could kind of start to melt on its way down, which we would love to see. We could take a little bit more or extra rainfall here for our plants and crops. I know we won't complain about that. Definitely don't want any hailstones, but just showcasing that hail continues to be somewhat of a threat as we continue pushing into the evening. We can even take a look, and if we were talking about rotation, I always love pointing out that we would start talking about a red starting to show up here. We're not talking about that by any means, and that continues to be a good thing. So let's take a look at our True Shield Roofing hail track. You can see it was a lot more prominent further out west, kind of past where this warning has already clipped off and was issued. We're not quite seeing that same level here. We can kind of flip between precipitation, yeah, perfect, and our hail track, and quite a ways west from where the storm currently is. So pretty much I can put my finger right there, kind of where it ends, and where precipitation ends as well, kind of further out east. So hopefully not quite dropping that hail anymore. For you guys out there towards Middleton, y'all are probably seeing that wind really start to shake the window pane a little bit, probably hear it howling outside as it crosses Highway 125 right now for you guys there in Tennessee, and Highway 15 for us here in North Mississippi. So just very gusty winds. That's going to continue to be the issue. But if we wanted to reset here again and click off of this, kind of zoom back here towards North Mississippi, we are dealing with a few pop-up showers, which Futurecast was talking about earlier during our 6 o'clock broadcast, where this line of thunderstorms continues to be the biggest concern, just kind of showcasing that intensity, potential for some severe thunderstorm warnings to be issued. But a few of us still dealing with some just heavier showers out here towards Calhoun County, just south of Bruce, a little bit heavier out there towards Itawamba County and up into Prentiss, but we're not talking about anything severe or intense. Further south you go, it's just going to be your run-of-the-mill, just heavy showers affecting us here in North Mississippi, not quite seeing the same ingredients in place the further north you go. And that kind of matches with that severe weather risk and that threat we were talking about earlier. So definitely a good news. Somebody was asking about the tornado threat. I'm not quite having to deal with that. Let me pull this up behind the scenes for you guys, and that way I can make sure I know exactly where to go. Let's go back towards where I know somebody was asking about Hernando. You guys are kind of in a bunch of heavy rainfall at this moment. Y'all aren't dealing with anything severe either, so we can go through our threats as well. We're kind of, Barron's kind of trying to highlight maybe the potential for some rotation on the Mississippi River right now, which let's go look at precipitation. Okay, there's one of those kinks Matt was talking about earlier, how it kind of just sticks out, juts out a little bit. So that'll be something that we want to monitor very closely within the next few minutes as it gets closer towards you guys out there, towards Austin and pushes into Tunica County. So that'll be one that we want to keep our eyes on very close, especially the storm relative winds, kind of showcasing kind of that red and green starting to mix just a little bit. So that will be an area we want to highlight. So I'll keep my eyes on that. But I know you guys were asking about Hernando. So let's go back to that real quick before we kind of go back to our severe thunderstorm warning in that area of potential rotation. But still heavy showers that y'all are dealing with right now. We can even go back towards our threats, and you guys aren't really dealing with much hell either at this point. It's either east or west of you guys. Y'all aren't dealing with it in that city. So let's go back towards our severe thunderstorm warning. That is, I think it's the same. I didn't know if it just got extended a little bit further into Alcorn County. But you guys kind of dealing with those heavy winds that are going to make their way closer and closer towards you guys as it pushes further into North Mississippi, kind of throughout the most northern half of Tippah County, getting closer towards Alcorn. Y'all are pretty much completely dry at this moment, but a few of you guys still within that severe thunderstorm warning as it gets closer and closer. So we can also put another track on that, just to give you all the very latest. I think Matt kept it at 30, which it should be what this warning was currently at. I didn't know if he sped it up or slowed it down. Let me see behind the scenes what this one has it as. Okay, they issued it at 30 miles per hour, so I'll still draw it out that way, and we'll go get a good direction on it. Let's watch that kind of move almost completely, yeah, just a little bit southeast. So let's draw that out, and I still like using the squall one, but I'll learn the method Matt taught me here soon. But since I know how to do this a little bit better for you guys, I'll give y'all that here. So we're going to continue to see that, continue to move on through. Let me zoom that out, put it over here for you guys. So, and then we'll change this. A lot of things to do behind the scenes. That way it looks nice for you guys. Okay, so Faulkner around 8:01, Raymer around 8:16, Guys at 8:24, Corinth around 8:30, Farmington 8:38, and Rienzi around 8:42. And again, that's if it kind of maintains this head of steam that it has. In our past severe thunderstorm warning, we saw that start to enter North Mississippi and not keep that same level of intensity, which is another thing we want to keep emphasizing. It's our most northern counties where we could see that severe weather threat, that severe weather risk today. But the more southern that it pushes, it loses those ingredients. And we can kind of take a look at just what I mean by that. Our day one risk showcasing that level 2 slight risk just across the state line, not affecting us here in North Mississippi. But for our North Mississippi counties, I can zoom this back out, y'all are within that level 1 severe weather risk. And we can go through them kind of threat by threat. Tornado risk, we'll start off with that one. We are not talking about anything tornadic occurring tonight. We did have that area of rotation, which looks to be already off. I'll go double check that here in just a second. We're really not talking about anything tornadic. Some of these storms just like to rotate a little bit with that updraft or that downdraft, just showcasing kind of more intense thunderstorms making their way into North Mississippi. But thankfully and hopefully we're not really dealing with the ingredients needed for a tornado today. Wind continues to be our biggest threat as we kind of see that matching perfectly with that level 1 risk. This is a wind-driven kind of severe weather threat. And we've seen kind of how windy and gusty this weather has been within the past 24 hours and yet again this evening. And we also keep talking about hail as well, which continues to be in the most northwestern portion of North Mississippi. But Matt was tracking out a little bit of those hail swaths making it with this severe thunderstorm warning as well. So that's kind of a brief recap of what we're expecting tonight. This is not one where you have to stay up late stressing about a tornado or anything like that. Once this line makes its way through, you're going to be good to go for the rest of your Saturday evening. You can go to sleep whenever you want, stress-free. You don't have to worry about that one bit. So coming back, and of course, still looking at it while we're still zoomed out before we go back to that warning. Again, most of us here in North Mississippi not really having to deal with this strong kind of severe weather that we continue to break down. It's for you guys furthest north along the state line where we are seeing kind of those intense showers and just kind of some pop-up showers and storms a little bit further south out there towards Calhoun County, Itawamba, most northern part of Monroe, but not dealing with that severe weather threat. So let's go back, which it's still showcasing that rotation. It was kind of blending in a little bit with that, the dark reds. So continue to keep my eye closely on this. Let's make sure we're still on the Memphis radar. Whoops. I broke it for a second. There we go. Okay, I was on it. That's why it disappeared. So still kind of showcasing an area to look at with that wind storm relative kind of right over the Mississippi River. So again, this is something Barron does when they kind of see something like that, keep our eyes on it. So definitely wanting to keep our eyes, because this is kind of what we mean by kind of those brighter greens and reds a little bit closer towards each other, just showcasing some of that rotation trying to occur within that thunderstorm. And this is right over the Mississippi River as it gets closer. So let's actually just do a storm track on this for you guys as it pushes further into, I believe, Tunica County. And we can zoom this out for you guys, give you a good visual on this. Again, and actually before we do that, let's cover kind of the threats y'all are dealing with. It's still not even showcasing that red here on that peak threat. So I'm not too concerned about it at this moment, but I still want to give you guys the latest timing on that as it gets closer. But you guys definitely dealing with heavy rainfall no matter where this line is. Few of y'all dealing with some of that potential for some hail to fall. But hopefully, I know you guys are toasty out there in the Delta. We would love to see that melt on its way down and not have to bother you guys this evening. So let's do the latest track on this here. I believe this is still kind of, slowly moving south, almost kind of more east. Matt, what's your take on that kind of rotation, almost signature?
Now, I think that's probably at an angle there where sometimes you're going to get some stuff on the, so that's based on the shear rate. And so it's going to see, if we have continuity in the shear rate here, which we don't, there's no continuity in that. So it's like, well, hold on, I'm seeing it. And that should always be an early warning to say, well, hold on, are you looking closely enough at that, as opposed to kind of the final countdown on how it all plays out. So I would say I do not think I'm particularly concerned by what we're seeing with that particular part as well. And you do tend to get that sometimes at that angle from one of these systems as they're kind of outflowing. I'll also note that National Weather Service in Memphis is probably not going to extend our warning up here in Alcorn and northern Tippah County, simply because they have not gotten any additional reports on it. And just kind of looking here behind the scenes, it's not as impressive as when we did, I think, have potentially a little bit of shear on that earlier. We still have the gusty winds. That's what this red here is, not necessarily rotation, even though it says rotation threat. I might just change what we call that going forward, because I think that, again, is just the gusty winds with this more than anything else. So assuming that's still going about 30 miles per hour, you get some times there. But they're going to go ahead and let this warning expire here, I think, at 8 o'clock. And at that point, we'll reassess, and kind of like we did before with the Shelby County warning. If there's another one of these storms out here that's strong enough, we'll continue. But if not, I'll probably kind of go back to regular programming there at that point in time. So we'll kind of make that judgment call here in a minute. But National Weather Service there in Memphis expecting this to expire on time at 8 o'clock.
Perfect. Yeah, no, definitely good news, and no reports, always technically good reports or good news here for us here in North Mississippi. So let's give you the latest timing, of course, if it still maintains this head of steam as it continues into the evening overnight period. So around Cypress at 8:09, and this would be after that severe thunderstorm warning hopefully expires. Cuba around 8:10, Theo 8:11, Chewala 8:16, Gift 8:17, Jonestown 8:18, Guys around 8:27, West Corinth at 8:30, Corinth around 8:31, Job's around 8:37, Acton 8:39, Farmington 8:40, same for Searcytown, Strickland at 8:42, Glenn's at 8:46, Indian Springs 8:47, and then Kendrick around 8:48. And that's almost getting closer out of North Mississippi at that point. But like Matt was just talking about, a National Weather Service up there in Memphis not confident on keeping that warning going. So within the next 2 minutes, hopefully that should continue to expire. I'm not quite seeing that same level of intensity, and I'm already impressed at seeing how quick these storms lose those intensity instead of pushing further and further south. That's kind of some of those models were projecting, and that severe weather risk was kind of broadcasting earlier. So that continues to be a very positive thing as we continue to see these push into North Mississippi. And kind of scrolling back out, just looking at it more on a broadened sense, that continues to be kind of the most intense shower. Still very heavy out here towards Tunica and into Tunica County, where you guys are kind of seeing some of just kind of heavy rainfall within this region. And going back towards our peak threats, still just talking about heavy amounts of rainfall, the potential for some hail as well. And I know you guys out there in the Delta, y'all continue to be hot, muggy, and steamy throughout the day. So hopefully kind of seeing that rainfall continue to melt. But still just hail and heavy rain continue to be the big threats, along with that wind here in North Mississippi, as that severe thunderstorm warning is ongoing, hopefully only for the next 30 seconds. We can take a look at our rainfall totals and kind of how that has shaped up to be within the past kind of 3 hours as this heavy line has moved through North Mississippi. That's where we saw our original severe thunderstorm warning dump some heavy amounts of rainfall. We can also see that again further out east, getting closer towards Alcorn County, but pretty much getting up to 3 inches in some areas within the South Haven, Hernando area, and getting closer towards Marshall County and Holly Springs, still seeing some substantial amounts of rainfall. But that continues to be another issue that we want to talk about, the potential for maybe some flash flooding, especially if you guys kind of see these heavy rain showers day to day, and kind of saw some yesterday, even some more amounts today. You could see some of these flash flood warnings get issued. That was one of the things in the forecast discussion for Memphis, that they got a lot of rainfall yesterday, saw that line move through today. That prompts those flash flood warnings as they kind of move through the most southwestern portion of Tennessee, getting closer towards North Mississippi. So that flash flood warning for Shelby, Tennessee, that would expire later on tonight around 9:45. And speaking of expires, that severe thunderstorm warning out of North Mississippi as well, Matt.
Expiring on time at 8 p.m. So let's give this a one over, and then we'll probably go back to programming if we don't see something significant on that. Caleb will kind of give kind of an overview on this. So let's reset things here. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. We're a 24/7 streaming service based out of the Tupelo, Mississippi area. It is now 8 o'clock. Our warning for Tippah and Alcorn counties has been allowed to expire. In saying that, there's still a lot of lightning out of these storms. The quantity of lightning strikes enough that we're going to have some sporadic power outages possible. Looking at the power outages here, the numbers have not been over the top to this point, thankfully. Up in DeSoto County, we're sitting about 400 there. Near Moscow, we're about 600. We do have some lightning strikes, only about 100 there in Tishomingo County, power outages, I should say, there as well, but not extreme. And when we're looking at some of these, they're pretty limited amounts, though we do show some in Benton and Tippah counties. We're talking fractions of a percent. Thankfully, not any greater than that. Coming back over again to the rainfall mode on a Mama Justice Doppler radar, we'll look three-dimensionally here on these storms to kind of assess. We'll start east, work our way back toward the west to kind of compare where things are now versus where they've been at their strongest. Thankfully, we've had very few reports of, well, we've had 0 reports of damage so far in North Mississippi. That's not to say that those don't come in at some point here, but just kind of cutting this down to the most intense returns there. I do not have it nearly as strong as when we had some of that hail back in northwest Mississippi, where we probably had some hail out of this. This has shown significant weakening there. Let's kind of work our way back west, just make sure everything sort of matches with that. Yep, I don't have anything on any of those storms I think is at true severe levels at this point in time. A shot of this, again, just kind of using the eyeball test from our camera there in Alcorn County with the North Mississippi storm chasers, looking back toward these storms there. Again, there is our shelf cloud, the low-hanging cloud, kind of moving toward there. That's going to be, again, associated with the rain cooled air, moving toward the Rienzi area. Again, this is the southern Alcorn County. You're going to have lightning. Going to be quite a few lightning strikes. This little cloud you see in front probably is what we call a roll cloud. Sometimes on the rain-cooled air, kind of running in advance there, that sort of rolls toward the camera. Has certainly a rough look to it, but looks can be deceiving. It typically is not severe in any way, shape, or form. It just kind of, you look up and go, that's kind of eerie looking. So that's why we a lot of times just kind of refer to those as scary looking clouds. Looking toward the horizon there. Again, the lightning likely to increase a lot more on these storms over the next little bit here. And looking from Iuka back into these as well. Our camera back there in Iuka showing again some of the low-hanging clouds there. Some of the rain-cooled air still a long ways off, obviously, in Iuka. No precipitation showing up on our radar image there as well. So we bring it back in the Mama Justice Doppler radar. As of, again, this time, let's go ahead and I'm going to add some of the other returns back onto this here. We'll go ahead and track this ahead through Alcorn County into Tishomingo County, kind of give you a refreshed look at how long this will probably take to arrive at some of those locations. And there should be some gusty wind that kind of runs ahead of this as well. But we'll say if that's going about 30 miles per hour there, we show it toward Theo about 8:13. Let's check that Corinth time, 8:33. That's pretty close to where we had it earlier, so it looks like we have a fairly decent speed on the track. And so we'll expand that out, we'll say 40 miles, and we will kind of change the size of locations here just a little bit. Again, Theo, 8:13 for you. Cypress, Cuba, about 8:13 as well. Crumtown, 8:22. Kossuth, we're looking at that for you at right around 8:23. Corinth, about 8:33. And if that holds together all the way to, say, Farmington, it's 8:42. Burnsville, about 9:01. And Iuka, about 9:16. So it's pretty similar timing. So it does look like, again, about 30 miles per hour, kind of the speed that this storm is probably still moving toward you at this point in time. So south of that, we have a storm there close to Fulton. It's fairly heavy, but again, non-severe. As we kind of switch this down south and check out some of the other locations we have here across North Mississippi, I'll kind of come back to our kind of overall view here. Any of these storms that we do have that have popped up, again, below severe limits, these up here close to the Tennessee state line, that one in particular, again, southern Alcorn County, in my opinion, out of all the storms, the one that maybe strengthens enough to kind of kick up some stronger wind gusts, if that's able to kind of hold together there. The rest of this line back here toward Tunica, West Helena there, moving through Senatobia, is probably a little less likely just because of the angle on it, a little bit less likely to produce severe weather going forward tonight. Do a tour of a couple of the cameras here to kind of give just like a one-over, a visual of what we're sort of seeing out of this. This shot here coming from Pittsburgh, where, of course, the rainfall overhead with the storm that's kind of popped up overhead there. As of the latest update, 84 degrees, but probably rain-cooled at this exact spot here and time there in the Pittsburgh area. Going up the road there back to Oxford, we've had kind of spotty storms around, but our viewpoint there, again, not a speck of rainfall there in Lafayette County. Heading up toward Tate County, this in Crenshaw, looking toward the north and west toward Tunica. You can see all, again, the dark clouds there, but that looks a lot less organized than if I just kind of swung back up here toward one of our strongest storms. I want to go back up toward Alcorn County there. Notice how we have a very solid kind of low-hanging shelf cloud here. So this is still a mature storm, still strong enough for some sporadic wind damage as a possibility. And just compare that to what that camera back closer to Crenshaw has. See how that's a solid line, and see how it's kind of more broken here, just where the clouds are. That's why this storm is, in my opinion, fairly a lot weaker around Tunica and Senatobia than obviously what we have in the northwest part of the state. Let's just pop over to Fulton and see exactly whether or not we have. I know we had one pretty close, and you can kind of see the clouds there looking back toward the west. Again, kind of the mix of clouds on that camera there. So I'll go and pop the camera network down, sort of showing the storms in and around the Itawamba County area. There's going to be some lightning. Again, anytime you hear the lightning, you're close enough to get struck by. Anytime you hear the thunder, you're close enough to get struck by lightning. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. Let's check our chat here. Again, wind blowing hard there in Faulkner. Again, Ruleville, Mississippi, we're watching again for you in Hernando. The flood warning, again, not a flash flood warning. And we'll touch on that here in a second. So I'm just kind of looking through here. Columbus, and listen, these are probably not making it down there as well. And luckily not getting the 3-inch hail like some folks back there in Kansas are. They're certainly dealing with some stuff. And someone mentioned photogenic clouds. Certainly we have a number of those out there this evening as well. So as we kind of work our way toward wrapping up here, assuming I didn't lose my connection back here again, here's how we'll answer that question. Sure enough, did. Man, that did not last long on that there, Caleb. But back at the studio there, looking at Mama Justice Doppler radar, Again, showing that batch stretching back out here toward Hernando and Coldwater. Those are some of the spots where we're probably most likely to have, again, some heavy rainfall that has been more significant than this there. Now, here's the way I'm working behind the scenes. I'm looking at that monitor up there, Caleb, and I'm just getting my mouse to line up at the right spot, despite the fact I'm not actually in on it. Let's go ahead and switch the radar site out. Ooh, no, this is going to be hard because I don't know where which one of the list it is. I might have lost that one completely there as well. Anyway, the heavy rainfall, as you can see over the last 3 hours, we've had some spots where we've had 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. And again, we're on the radar site from the Tower Doppler weather radar there. And that one certainly shows, again, heavy rainfall and that flood warning that remains in effect there. It does include spots closer to, say, Hernando there. Yeah, there's that aerial flood advisory in effect until 10:15. Again, if you have reports of flooding to kind of send in, you can send those using the Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available for all those different devices there. And then we'll watch that as well. Okay, Caleb, now I need to know this. I'm going to bring Caleb in here for a second. Did you go in and reset my stream? Oh, pop the wrong one. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was about to walk back over there.
Did you reset the streamer?
Earlier when you asked? Or like behind the scenes
just a second ago?
No. I was over at BAM.
Back?
Yeah, no, I was at BAM pulling up pictures. So I think it was that short-lived. But
it came back up on its own.
Yeah, no, that wasn't me. I mean, I was pulling up precipitation for you behind the scenes, and I saw you were accessing it. I was like, okay, maybe he's back on again.
No, I couldn't see anything here. My mouse was just still working. So since it was working, I was just watching on camera to see when it popped up.
No, that was not me.
Well, what do you know? Every once in a while. So we will get that solved hopefully this week. I've got another workaround that we'll add to the list of possible things with that. So anyway, so as we kind of wrap things up here, again, watching in Alcorn County, what do you need to know about this? First off, this is going to be primarily a non-severe thunderstorm, but could still have some damaging wind gusts possibly as it moves in. In saying that, most wind gusts are 40 to 50 miles per hour. If it ratchets back up to produce severe weather, we'll bring you additional coverage here as well. And of course, also speaking to that coverage, our next live broadcast is going to be coming up here, if nothing else, at 9 o'clock here from Mississippi Live Weather. Pop that back up again because I forgot when it comes to me. I have to wait a second. Here in the Room Weather Center at 9 and 10 p.m. Again, our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, and possibly myself, depending on the situation, continue to track some of these thunderstorms as they move through. Make sure to have Mississippi Live Weather app. If warnings are issued, again, you can get live coverage here as these storms move into and through most of North Mississippi, the far northern portion of Mississippi. But as we kind of wrap things back up, there's one thing I do need to touch on, and everyone knows that I'm impossible of wrapping with any reasonable period of time. That's just kind of how I work, unfortunately. But I'll kind of bring it back over here again as we sort of clear that off. Columbus, someone was asking in Columbus, no issues for you. Most of these storms, these other showers that have popped up down here remain relatively weak, and the majority of the active weather is going to be up here near the Tennessee state line, as storms should weaken a lot more as they head farther south. Kind of the clear overview on that is just when you look at the official severe weather risk for today, and that kind of outlines if you're outside of this, some rumbles still possible, but the main severe weather is going to be in this zone. A headline again, no tornado threat. Wind is the main issue, perhaps some large hail, but we have not had a lot of reports of that. Hence the reason why wind is one of the main concerns that we'll have this evening. Again, updates here from the Room to Room Weather Center through the evening. Keep it here for the latest, and thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live.